pals, and welcome. Welcome. So Diablo 4 Campfire chat starts today. They're going to be talking about Season 8, so we're going to check that out. We may also just play some more Elder Scrolls Oblivion in the background. We got about, 42 minutes before it starts. Let me go ahead and pull this up, too. So let's get this running. Is it already live? No. Diablo. Where's the Diablo channel?
Bosses across the board to introduce that hiked challenge.
They are not live yet. But we'll keep an eye on it. What's up, Dixon? Ooh. We got, 20 minutes? They should be starting soon. They usually start a little bit before the actual time, and they have some little teaser reels and some other things that we can watch. So as soon as that pops up, we'll hop over. In fact, you know what? Let's do it like this. It's easier this way.
Just go for it.
No, there we go.
Bosses.
No. Alright, there we go. And we can do it like this. And then I can pull it in over here. Take off the chroma key.
What the heck?
What the ham biscuit? What in tarnation? I wonder how big the Berserk thing is.
Did you watch the trailer on it?
Nope. I'm gonna be surprised because I'll probably play it today. Alright, there we go. I'm gonna turn down the game a little bit too. Ready to go. I'm still playing Oblivion in the background. As one should. As one should. Know ye not that Oblivion is the true ruler? In a freaking vampire cave over there, and they had ebony armor on, and I was super excited. Ebony, ivory, living in perfect harmony.
By Azura, by Azura, by Azura! It's the Grand Champion! I can't believe it's you standing here next to me.
You are super creepy, sir. Get your own horse. Fort Wariel. Let's go to Fort Wariel.
Hello? Who's there?
Why y'all shooting horses? Don't shoot. Why you always rush my horse?
Warming up, you pathetic worm.
I fought mud crabs more fearsome than you.
He's fought mud crabs more fearsome than me, guys. You got an elven claymore. Orcish boots, orcish curios. That's all my stamina I have. What the hell?
Now you will know pain.
Yeah, so I don't know why you're so angry all the time. Man, you shot an arrow in my boy's face. Man, why you do that to my homie, though? That's not polite. It's not polite. Be shooting arrows into my boy's face. It's rude. We're gonna find a chest up here and stash away the goodies. Or a barrel, that works too. Shove the armor in the barrel or the crate. Ebony booties coming down perfect. Ebony booties, baby. I'm alive. Athletics mastery has increased. Why jog when you can sprint has always been your motto. Now the miles of running and hours of swimming have paid off. You are a journeyman of athletics. Sprinting now consumes slightly less fatigue. Yay.
Look who we've got here. Who's there?
What? Weird.
Die! It's not supposed to be impressed.
I'm going to bleed you slow.
Three of them.
Me, hey. What did you do that for? You some kind of maniac?
Here!
Why are they all women? Did I accidentally discover a Amazon colony?
Take that! You to pieces! I'll hack you to pieces!
I'll hack you to pieces.
Today, you die! This is the part where you fall down and bleed to death.
Well, that's just rude.
This ends here! You're pathetic. Die, Imperial, die! Today, on my sword while you die. This ends here. This is the part where you fall down and bleed to death. Jump on my sword while you can.
Stop being so rude and racist. Oh my god, you are so creepy. I don't think you could get any creepier if you tried. Some thick booty cheeks there. But, you know, maybe if you actually carried stuff and were useful, you wouldn't be so creepy. But no. I look dead tired. I mean, yeah. That's what happens when you stream for like 1,000,000 hours straight and get like 4-hour nap. But then again, I had fun, so that's the important thing. Well, yeah, there we go. Bow, 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 bow. See, then what we can do is we can go back and forth between town. Another glass longsword. Glass dagger, glass warhammer. Pretty much just shove everything in here. It doesn't matter. We'll get it at some point. Makes it easier for us to grab stuff from the dungeon too. Well, hello there, Mr. Wolfums. Oh, it's a doggy. Maybe we can use the voice of the Emperor on it. You know what? I'm content to leave the doggy there. Random gold. What the hell is this place? Is that a training dummy? There's a full set of iron gear here. A Rotter Battle Mage.
Take that! You're pathetic.
A Rotter Warlord. She's got some armor. They gotta be starting this thing soon. Refresh the page, make sure it's not already started.
Die, damn you!
I wonder if I shouldn't use her for a little bit of target practice. I refresh the page. It says there's 1,273 people watching. Oh, there you go. It's got a timer. 7 minutes. We'll bring it up full screen as soon as it starts. And the shield she's got's fancy.
That's the best you can do. Do your worst. Now you will know pain. Now you will know pain. You're pathetic. Am I supposed to be impressed?
What's this guy got on? Work Curious, Elven Boots. How's my armor holding up? 60 durability. Boots are broken. Let's put on new boots. Helmet's broken.
I'm just warming up, you pathetic worm. Let's get this over with.
No. An ebony shield, a Daedric longsword, a Daedric greaves, boots of plain striding, feather on self 85 points. Oh, okay. I like that. Moriel's key. Daedric greaves are better than mine. What are the boots of plain striding? What are those? Are those heavy boots? They are heavy boots. Looks like they're ebony. Nice. Extra carry capacity? Don't even have to say nothing, bro. That's 85 points of feather. Hell yeah. Let's see if we can stealth up here and repair our equipment. Oh, hello there. So I tried to stealth and you found me? That was weird.
Now you will know pain.
Some more Daedric Curious. Daedric Boots. Still can't stealth though. I don't know why you can't stealth sometimes. Oh yeah, that's right. I forget that I have that evil little monster following me around. Which is probably preventing me from being able to stealth. Cannot repair when enemies are nearby. Oh, a chest that I could fail at over and over again. You are out of lockpicks. We got 2 minutes and 12 seconds. Aww. Mm. 57 seconds. Let me make sure this is unmuted.
Hello Diablo community, welcome to another Diablo 4 developer update livestream. My name is Adam Fletcher, community director here for Diablo, and I am joined by some very familiar faces here, and they will introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Colin Feiner. I'm the design director for systems on Diablo 4.
Hey, I'm Derek Nunez. I'm the lead seasons designer for Season 8 here on Diablo 4.
Hi, I'm Charles Dunn. I'm a class designer working on the final design team on Diablo.
Awesome. Well, we have a full crew here today. We're actually going to be talking a ton today about Season 8. I know we had a Season 8 PTR live stream. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the same content that was in there, just because some people may have not tuned in for that. But it's a quick recap of what Season 8 is. We announced it earlier this week on our blogs and on Diablo4.com. So if you haven't checked out like any of the trailers and stuff like that, most definitely do so. I'm gonna fight my earpiece this whole entire stream, I can already tell. So if you see me fidgeting with my ear, I apologize. But we are also gonna talk about PTR changes that are coming to Season 8. We got a ton of feedback from the Season 8 PTR, and we want to make sure that we talk through all those specific items with the community. Likewise, we're also going to talk a little bit about some class updates and balance updates and PTR changes based off of that. And Colin's going to walk us through some system updates that are coming in for Diablo 4. We'll do a quick overview on reliquaries, which is a new system that will start with Season 8 and be permanent going forward. And then, of course, we will round it up with our Q&A. So we'll jump right in, straight into Season 8 content. So Derek, do you want to talk to us a little bit about Season 8 with Belial returning?
Yeah, absolutely. So Season 8, Belial returns as the continuation of the Age of Hatred, where Mephisto is walking the land of Sanctuary, creating the perfect opportunity that Belial, the Lord of Lies and one of the great evils, has been waiting for to make his resurgence back into the land, to continue his never-ending plan to plunge the denizens of Sanctuary into the realm of lies, where he maintains sole dominance over perceptions of reality. So not a great demon that you want kind of like roaming around Sanctuary, but throughout the course of the season, we'll be meeting a couple of new allies that will be joining our little ragtag group here. So first up is, drumroll, there you go, Saina. On the left here is a retired Visurai mage who you meet right at the beginning of the Season 8 quest line. She kind of clues you in to all like the weird happenings that are going on in Sanctuary at this time, and that her suspicions are that Belial's behind it. Spoiler alert, it's called Season 8, Belial returns, so she ends up being right. Yes, Belial has infiltrated Sanctuary.
I'm actually going to pause you really quickly, Derek.
Oh, sure.
I just want to make sure our production team can hear it. Or may be adjusting some volume, because I think some people in chat are not able to hear. So if we're good, okay, we're good. All right, sorry.
Oh, sweet.
Go right ahead. There we go.
All right, Belial returns if you missed that. Yeah, so on the left here, Saina is a ex-Vijari mage who clues you in to these odd happenings that are going on in Sanctuary, and she suspects that Belial is behind it. Again, kind of spoiler alert, he is, because Belial returns and he's back in Sanctuary. You'll also be getting acquainted with Jarius on the right here, who claims to be a former Cathedral of Light Knight, who kind of throughout the course you find that he's kind of dealing with his own kind of internal struggles and past traumas. So collectively, this ragtag group will be engaging in kind of a cat and mouse chase, race against time, to put a stop to Belial before he's allowed to even regain a single like shred of power back in Sanctuary. For players who know Belial and kind of his past works, from Diablo 3 specifically, Belial likes to work in the shadows and infiltrate society and kind of manipulate, again from behind the scenes. So fans might know already what kind of dangers and turmoil can happen when Belial is even allowed to regain full dominance in Sanctuary. Like in Diablo 3, he overtook the city of Chaldean when he was impersonating Emperor Hakan II. He cast that entire city into economic and political turmoil. He even, kind of exiled the Iron Wolves, the once, kind of highly regarded guardians of Chaldeum, into, out of the city, rendering them to be the, the current exiled, disgraced militia group that they are now in the events of Diablo 4. So if you happen by the Iron Wolf encampment, just give them a pat on the back. It wasn't their fault. It was all Belial's doing. But yeah, that's the high-level overview of kind of the quest line that we'll be embarking on that reintroduces Belial permanently into the world of Sanctuary. And with that, that's all the new stuff that we did not cover in the previous stream, but we have the blog posts out and all that kind of stuff. But I want to cover the stuff that kind of retreads some things that we covered before that went into the PTR, and kind of end each segment with the PTR learnings, just kind of keep it structured and fresh here. So as we know, Season 8 is the season of bosses, more specifically Lair bosses. So through this, we're adding new bosses to the roster, updating it with new mechanics, and hitting it with a whole bevy of quality of life updates. So again, as a bit of a recap, first and foremost, as far as the new bosses are concerned, we have our buddy Belial here in a supreme form joining the very tippity top of the Lair boss ladder. He's the new, biggest bad of the ladder, the most toughest, the most rewarding, and he's overlooking the rest of the bosses and also bringing a couple of new buddies to join the party. First up is Urvar from our Vessel of Hatred expansion, where he is joining the bottom rung of the ladder, tier 1 boss, and he's also being joined with the Harbinger of Hatred, who is filling out the second rung of the ladder. So again, collectively, we have new boss roster additions of Belial in his supreme form at the top, Harbinger of Hatred just below him, and Urvar guarding the gates on the ground floor. So collectively, these are all the new bosses that are joining, and these are all ones that we actually had in the PTR, so I'm excited to kind of share some updates we've made since then. But that is not it for Belial stuff. We also have Belial in his smaller form, as we might know for players who play the PTR, that he is now kind of haunting and stalking the Lair boss ladder just through and through. So again, defeating any of the Lair bosses has a % chance to trigger a surprise small Belial ambush spawn to kind of give you double the loot, double the fun. So yeah, that's again kind of a bit of a recap of the Lair boss updates, the rosters that we had to the system, and kind of just want to chat a little bit about some of the PTR findings that we had from that. So again, first up, we had all the bosses in there, and we gathered a bunch of great feedback over kind of just a general tuning. We also updated all of the existing Lair bosses with new abilities and whatnot. So I guess the first and foremost, kind of like change that we made since the PTR is just refine the balance on the supreme form of Belial. We had some feedback and also felt it ourselves that he wasn't hitting as hard as he could or kind of representing his proper status on the ladder. So he has been buffed up quite tremendously and also received a few new tricks up his sleeve. Additionally, all of the Lair bosses themselves have received, again, refined some of their attack mechanics to cut down on some of the one-shots that we were seeing, and just generally, general balancing to get them more representative of the respective tier that they kind of belong in.
Yeah, we kind of overcorrected on the damage in PTR just to test out. We had removed the stacking debuff that the Lair bosses had done, and it was just sort of up to us in terms of what attacks actually applied that debuff, and we felt like it was disrespecting players' defenses. So we stripped that out, but then buffed the damage a little bit too much for PTR, and we've since pulled back on some of the one-shots there.
Yeah. When Season 8 launches proper, all the bosses should be feeling much more appropriate within their respective tiers, and also appropriate for the rewards that they give, for the effort that players are putting into that journey to get to the top.
Yeah. Definitely. I think we also sort of took a look at the material tuning and the overall reward of a lot of the Lair bosses from the PTR. So in general, we're taking an approach where globally, sort of just across the game, like when you kill elites and things like that, we're bringing the materials, material drops are being reduced, but we're actually buffing the materials from the specific activities that you need to do to actually gain these materials. Right. And we're also taking a look, we had taken a look at the boss drops actually in totality from PTR, and we've buffed it. So a good example now is that Supreme Belial is actually going to drop 2 Ancestrals as opposed to the 1 from PTR. And we're just really sort of trying to chase after the philosophy of the bosses are something that you're going to do periodically. It's going to be a big challenge.
Switch over to YouTube here. Maybe the audio will be better.
2 Ancestrals as opposed to the 1 from PTR. And we're just really sort of trying to chase after the philosophy of the bosses are something that you're going to do periodically. It's going to be a big challenge, but they're going to be more rewarding than they were on PTR. And we think that that's a better place to be in as opposed to like the hour-long chain farming that you were doing in the previous seasons of these bosses.
Yeah, we really like encouraging this diversity of endgame activities where you're doing lots of different activities that feed you into the boss ladder, and then fighting these bosses, taking them down and looting them is really a high moment that you get every once in a while, but it's not something we really want, oh, you're just going to chain bosses nonstop and that's all you do. We really want to encourage that diversity of endgame activities.
Yeah, and just to make the spread a little bit better, if you think about Season 7, you might, for example, want Fists of Fate. So you'd only fight Beast and Ice, and that's the only boss you'd ever do. So what we've done actually, and this was in the PTR, but I just wanted to cover it because I think it's an important note, is now all the bosses half and half split their loot. So half is targeted, half is global. So that means you still have a reason to do all of the bosses. And that just makes experiencing the variety of activities that we have in Diablo 4 just a little bit more rewarding. There's always a boss at the end journey of any given activity in the game.
Yeah, and with that, it's a great thing that Belial got buffed up in his drops too, because as we recall, for those who play the PTR, you can actually target farm the specific, mimic the specific Lair boss loot that you want him to kind of drop for you.
That's exactly right.
So cool, yeah, that's a bit of a recap and some of the PTR findings, and let's jump into kind of covering the next section here, which is the Lair keys. So again, for those who...
Just my personal opinion real quick. Diablo 4 has notoriously been absolutely the worst at bosses. Like, the worst. Like, I haven't had a single boss encounter in Diablo 4 where I was like, oh wow, this is the most fun thing that I've ever encountered, and I would really like to do this multiple times. Now, most of the time their boss encounters are either ridiculously easy to the point of absurdity, to where you go in and you pretty much one-shot them, or they're so ridiculously difficult that they one-shot you, like, by touching your toenail hair. Like, oh, he touched your left toenail hair on your pinky toe, on that one that was already dead. Oh, you're dead. Yep, one-shotted.
You played the PTR, you experienced that we've changed up entirely the full, summoning and reward flow of the Lair boss system. So all of the first foremost one is that all of the bosses are now free to summon, and the items that were formerly known as the summoning items, to summon them up, are now living a new life and role as Lair keys. I think we have a bit of a graphic here to kind of show.
Yeah, I really like this change of making the bosses free to summon. It lets you really test your build against these bosses, because we are like ramping the difficulty, right? The initiate Lair bosses, a little bit easier to take down, and they definitely ramp up in difficulty as you go up that ladder. Yeah. And so if you're not sure, like, hey, am I able to take on this boss, get it in the Torment tier that you're in, you kind of have to, you can get in there with no investment, right? You're not going to commit your resources and then find out, oh, this boss is way too hard for me. You can go and you fight them, and then if you're able to take them down, you can use those to unlock the loot. And I think that's just a much better user experience all the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of, one of the, again, kind of a reminder here with this nice, very fancy chart, looks gorgeous, is just kind of streamlining how players gain access and kind of climb the ladder. So as we might recall from the PTR, we reduced the total number of Lair keys required to open the Horde chest that the bosses now drop upon death. From 2 to 1, they stack up to 99, and one of the neat things is kind of like encouraging players engage in a wide variety of bosses is all the initiate Lair, or I guess initiate tiered Lair bosses will not just drop the associated key for the next boss that they're kind of linked to, but they'll also, all of them can drop a Stygian stone, which is also living a new world, and that it can be crushed to turn into the Lair key for any of the greater Lair bosses. And again, as I mentioned before, any of the initiate or greater Lair bosses has a chance to get the surprise Belial ambush, which is the key to get the Betrayer's Husk to loot his supreme forms, his supreme forms of Horde. So yeah, again, all roads kind of like lead to Belial. And again, kind of this is a recap here. We have the full flow in action that you can just kind of remind yourself here.
I think we got some gameplay, I believe.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
There's like too much
Here
to me.
we are with the
That's what it looks
summoning
like.
pedestal. Again, no materials required for the cost, and we're going
And all those materials, and how much you want to bet, we're going to have like an infinite number of them and never run out.
to summon up the Harbinger of Hatred here. Again, our new Tier 2 Lair boss. And we don't want to spoil the mechanics of this really kind of cool fight, but players who played in the PTR got to experience it. And we're just going to jump ahead here to opening up the Horde and getting the loot.
Yeah, and I think something you might notice is that we've actually tuned a lot of the material costs on the chests. So in PTR it was actually 4, now it's 3. So we've reduced the cost of opening the greater Lair boss chests. I also want to acknowledge like this definitely is a nerf to chain farming. That's something that I think has been a result of this change, and frankly I think that's something that feels a little bit more appropriate to the overall game. We didn't like that how you could sort of just drop into any party and get a bunch of uniques for free. We feel like you need to work for some of the loot in Diablo, right? If we don't have you do some challenges and work for things, the reward isn't as sweet, right? It's sort of walking that fine line between just challenging enough and just rewarding enough that it feels right, and not too slow that it feels like a slog, or not too easy that it just feels pointless. Like, why do we even have this in the game? So to sort of compensate that, that's why we've done a bunch of buffs to the overall loot of these Lair bosses from the PTR. So again, like Giga Bilal is dropping 2. We've increased the just baseline uniques that drop off of the Lair boss hordes, in addition to Bilal sometimes showing up and actually doubling your loot. So we think this strikes a better balance for social party play as well as solo players. And overall, we think this is just a better and healthier journey to actually getting to more power. You actually have to work a little bit more for it.
Yeah, you kind of covered in previous, like the a general kind of spread of the PTR updates we've done since, but one of the feedbacks that we got from kind of like the new loop and flow of the horde and the summoning material was that players felt that there was a bit too long of a delay before they can get back to the boss. So would you like to take the honors of this really cool update?
Sure. So we had this wait time. It was essentially for parties to go back to town and maybe manage the loot. It was about 20 or 30 seconds, but 20 or 30 seconds in Diablo is a fucking is an eternity. So we took it out essentially like how we've mitigated is if the party has all opened the chest, we'll just skip the timer, and that includes solo. So if you just open it up, we'll just skip the timer. You're back to blasting. So
So the next bit here was the Apparition incursions. That again, this is a new seasonal. Everything I just covered there is all the permanent updates to that we're introducing to Diablo 4 within Season 8. But back to some of the seasonal fun stuff. Players who engage in the PTR might recall that we introduced the Apparition incursions, which is a fast-paced boss rush event where players will be going through, kind of like blasting through hordes of Bilal's apparition monsters to fight through some bosses and kind of ultimately go into a final showdown against him. And I think we have some the footage to check out here with it as kind of a bit of a refresher. So again, this is an open world activity that is pretty much up 24/7. The kind of goal for this is that players would, hop on the train, blast through some bosses, collect some of your first boss powers, and then, fight Belial. But I do want to cover some of the, again, this is meant to be kind of a very fast-paced.
Like, I kind of feel like I need to point this out, too. Like, isn't making an entire season around bosses kind of like just completely locking down an entire portion of your gameplay audience? Like, there are definitely classes and builds within Diablo 4 that are not good at bossing, but are very good at clearing. And, like, taking the entire seasonal mechanic and putting it around bosses is pretty much just going to destroy any class that sucks at bossing. I mean, I would assume that at some point the bossing powers probably take over and you just, like, one-shot everything with your overpowered bossing powers, but, like, you still have to be able to kill the bosses to get the bossing powers.
A streamlined, simple event that is meant to kind of mix in with the wider pantheon of level up activities that we have. So I do want to cover some of the PTR updates that we've made since then that should have this sit a bit more cleanly into kind of where it should be fitting within the level of activities. So the first bit from this as far as the PTR is concerned is we've rebalanced the role a bit of the the Apparition Incursion. All these names. The Apparition Incursion. So one of the feedbacks that we got from the PTR was that there was some concern over its long-term reward and whatnot. So the first thing that we've updated since then was introduce a Whisper Bounty now. So every now and again, you get the Whisper Bounty, and that's kind of like a call to action to come back to the boss train and get those whispers. As far as the balancing is concerned, one of the primary roles that we kind of saw in the PTR for the Apparition Incursion is one, giving you your first batch of magic grade boss powers, but also earning the Spectral Ash that you need to level them up. So there was definitely some feedback that we felt and received that getting enough spectral ash through the Apparition incursion is a bit of a slog. Like, it requires too much of the player's attention, or time rather, and it just is not representative of the amount of time that we necessarily want players to feel like they have to invest into just playing the Apparition incursion. So, one, we've reduced the spectral ash requirements to upgrade your magic and I think rare grade boss powers, so you need less of it. But we've also buffed the amount of spectral ash that you get from the Lair bosses. So collectively, the goal for this is that when you log into Season 8, the Apparition incursion is there for kind of the new novelty to get you your powers, kind of get you acclimated to earning spectral ash, but it's not necessarily there to dominate your full attention. We want you to engage in the wider pantheon again as level up activities. So we want you to do Apparition incursions, take a break and do the HellTides and Nightmare dungeons, and kind of experience the variety of the content to better set you up for when you enter the Torment tiers, where we're really expecting players to do all the Torment stuff and engage with the Lair bosses to really amplify their boss power collections and leveling them up.
Yeah, we really made a lot of these changes from PTR to position it more to help level you pre-Torment, pre-endgame. So we boosted the XP through the Whispers. We also added XP to the bosses that you'll kill in those events. And we're also, through the combination of lowering the cost of upgrading some of the early boss powers, we really want to position this in a place where it's sort of a fast track through the leveling experience, and it's a place to go. And we want there sort of to be a handoff to Torment in the end game, where, like you said, you have to sort of start to do other activities in the game. Something we saw from Season 7 that we kind of want to address and change for this season to see how it feels is Season 7 headhunts just dominated the entire game from start to finish. And it felt like there wasn't really a transition to an end game or anything more meaningful or wider. The game sort of shrunk, we felt like, instead of growing bigger.
So it's fun till it's not.
It's fun till it's not, right, yeah. And we sort of tuned the reputation and like the sort of headhunt currency that you needed a little bit too aggressively in terms of needing you to actually play through that too much. So we're taking a different step or a different approach here.
Yeah, and that's where the Apparition incursions are, like, definitely not intending for it to kind of dominate your full attention again. It's there as kind of that fun activity to get you going, and also when you do graduate into the Torment tiers, due to the addition of the Whisper bounties on it, you'll pull you back every now and again when it's super valuable for you. All right, cool. So the next bit here is I want to talk about the boss powers that we had into the PTR. Again, as kind of a quick recap here. Through the season, early quest beat, you kind of gain the ability to steal the powers of targeted bosses across Sanctuary's content. This is 24 of them in total, starting off with the Apparition bosses, then the World bosses, and then the Lair bosses, Lilith, and then Belial, who gets 2 powers for himself because it's his season and he wants 2 powers for himself. So who are we to say no to him? But yeah, I think we have some things to kind of recap some of the powers here. So here's the boss power screen, and as kind of a recap here, each of the powers have 2 sides to it, a main and a modifier side. You can slot one main side, which is actually will allow you to do the full expression of that signature move, whether it be the Lilith Wave Blast or the Duriel Burrow, which we'll probably see in a second here. But you can also, every boss power also has a side B, the modifier side, which allows you to further customize and augment your total expression of, being the boss, essentially. We like to kind of call it like customizable, boss powers and stuff. So again, this is the Lilith Wave Blast that you'll get from the first time kill of defeating Lilith. This is the Duriel Burrow, which would be a lot of fun. This one procs off of the Evade, so really fun for kind of the twitchy mobile builds. Also just kind of fun just to see a big bear burrow under the...
Sneaky werebears, huh?
Yeah.
And this one that's super easy to miss is the Wandering Death Laser Beam.
What is it? Where is it? I don't see it.
But I don't see it at all.
Oh, I think it's that little blue line.
Hey, did we move that closer?
We did. Yeah, that is one of the big groundbreaking updates from the PTR was that we did do some adjustments to the powers, visual effects and whatnot, like bringing the beam a little bit closer so it feels not so detached from the character, especially the melee builds. It kind of felt fine for like the the casters that kind of feels like you're like shooting beams
Sorc
out from your hand.
incinerator,
It looks great for those, but some of the melee builds, it kind of felt a little bit disjointed where you're a whirlwind barb and then kind of like a detached like beam coming across. We did bring those in, and I think this kind of sets up. We received a ton of feedback about just the general balance of how much of your total player's power expression should be pulled in from the boss powers versus your actual build itself. So this is where I get to hand the...
Yeah, I love to talk more about kind of the balancing we saw from these boss powers on the PTR, which is like so valuable as developers for us to get that feedback and hear, see players testing these powers and these builds and really like letting us know what they feel about it. It's really valuable to have that testing. Specifically in regards to these boss powers, what we really like about introducing new powers every season or in this season is how they really like tinker with your build. You say like, oh hey, I'm playing this style of build and there's this boss power that synergizes really nice with it. It adds a little wrinkle to the way you think about your character season over season, and we love that. That's really cool. One thing that we heard on the PTR for these particular powers is that they were more than just a wrinkle, they were your entire build, right? They were really overshadowing how much damage output you were doing, and you didn't really feel like, oh, I'm a Dance of Knives rogue. You felt like you were a Wandering Death Chest Beam rogue that also happens to cast Dance of Knives every once in a while.
Well, we want you to be the boss, but not that much.
Maybe not quite that much. It was definitely a little too far on the scale of like, hey, let's make these powerful and impactful. It's definitely a fine line where we're trying to make sure that you notice them, you feel them, they are an important part
I feel
of your
them,
build, but they're not your entire
no,
build.
you're gonna feel
so
it.
we definitely swung a little too far there, and so as updates from the PTR, we looked at adjusting the scaling, because these powers scale up in their damage output based on your Paragon level. So the more you're kind of getting up into that late game, you're raising your Paragon level, they're going to be kind of scaling with you because the rest of your damage is going up, and so we're increasing the damage there. On the PTR, they would previously...
Just a small note, that's got to be the dumbest way to scale damage I've ever heard in my effing life. So you're telling me that, like, as I level up my character, so like, let's say I level a sorceress, right, and I get to like level 300 Paragon, and my boss powers are absolutely insane, and they're just ripping things to shreds, right? Then I go and I level up a new character, and my new character that's just like a brand new baby character gets to level 60, gets all my 300 Paragon points, and without even trying, I'm now like super ridiculously powerful because I've got 300 Paragon points. Super effing dumb.
Scale with you all the way up to Paragon level 300, which is very difficult to reach. It's a long grind to get up there. Now we're capping them at Paragon 200, which we think is a much more reasonable place to expect players to kind of get to unlock that full expression of power. And even then, we've reduced the scaling amount, so it's not.
That's even worse.
It will be. We still expect them to be impactful to your build. We just don't want them to absolutely dominate everything else that you're doing.
Yeah, and this fits better. Like, we sort of set up the Paragon in such a way where you can get most of what you want around Paragon 200, and the rest is sort of just gravy for people who just really want to push and grind. You're getting core stats, maybe some additive damage. I just wanted to sort of double down on that, because I think that's something that's really important to us, is making sure that you don't feel obligated to get to 300, and it's more just sort of a, badassery.
Yeah. There were also a few specific powers that we decided to rework based on the way they were playing out on the PTR, specifically Andariel's Flaming Skull. The modifier on that one in the previous version was applying many burn effects. It actually made burning sorcerer builds way too powerful. I believe something like 40 pit tiers higher than they really should be. We like powerful effects, but 40 pit tiers higher than you would otherwise have was too much. So it's kind of been completely reworked here. It's still very valuable for dot-based builds, those damage over times, but it's just got more multiplicative damage rather than kind of this exponentially growing the way it was before. Similarly with Uravar's Lobbed Bombs, we updated the cooldown reduction on it. Previously it was granting just a flat amount of cooldown reduction. It says your ultimate was reduced by, I believe it was 5 seconds. As we'll talk about a little bit later, we found that we like that you get to spam your ultimates in some builds. That was just empowering it a little too easily. And so we've adjusted it to be a flat 15% cooldown reduction rather than that like flat amount of 5 seconds off on the ultimates there.
Yeah, and I think the spirit of a lot of this with the changes that we'll dive a little bit into in terms of making Torment a little bit harder and some of the changes to these boss powers is really like we want progression to feel meaningful and challenging and something that you can work towards. We don't really like when some of these effects just sort of short circuit that entire journey and you slap it in and then now you're in Torment 4 and the game is done. So it's really about trying to build that satisfying journey to becoming a god. Like we like that you can become a god in one-shot stuff, and Diablo is a power fantasy. That's what Diablo needs to do. But we don't like when it happens too frequently. Blink and you miss it.
Yeah, it really cheapens the experience. If you find one item or one power and like, oh, game's over. Now what do I do? Right? We feel like we fail to deliver on that power fantasy if you get it too easily, like you would occasionally get with some of these other
like season 7. Season 7 was so easy. Oh my god.
Cool. Well, I think that wraps it up for Season 8 specific items related to Belial's return. Derek, I'm going to say thanks to Charles and Colin as well, though I'm actually about to throw it back over to Charles, but thank you for running us through that. Again, like all the changes that we're talking about from PTR, and just a reminder on what PTR is. PTR is our public test round. That's something that we do before the actual season. It's an opportunity for people to really test things. It's kind of like our form of like early access, you could say, where people can jump in, they can test specific things, and then we can make changes for when the live season actually hits. So there are going to be additional PTR changes that we're going to be talking about because we're going to jump into classes again. I'm going to throw it back over to Charles, and Charles will talk a little bit more of all the class changes that are coming with Season 8, and of course the changes coming from PTR as well.
Yeah, of course. So let's talk about, just to carry on about some of the balancing philosophy around what we're looking at when we do these PTRs, specifically from the class balance side. We're often looking at a lot of the new items, the new builds, and the kind of the reworks that we've done to classes. Whenever we make a new season, we say, hey, we're going to target certain areas and like look at certain play styles of a class and really make sure those are hitting the mark. And so when we're looking at adjusting from the PTR to live, which is what we're going to talk about today, most of the changes are really targeted around the new content that's coming out or the new builds we're trying to target and empower to make sure they're really hitting the mark. That's not to say we don't appreciate feedback about the entire class or any other skill. It's just that given the scope of what we're looking at from a PTR, we're trying to stay really focused on what we think will have the highest impact on the actual seasonal release.
Yeah, and part of this is to sort of respect some of the players who I know you all enjoy, like theory crafting and building things up. We kind of want to make sure that that's like a stable thing that you can theory craft before a season launches. You get to see all the new changes, and we're just going to sort of fine tune the things that we've already talked about.
Yeah. Absolutely. We don't want to go, hey, here's a PTR, and then completely upheaval everything as we go to launch, right? We're just mainly looking at refining what we kind of set out to do in the season. Of course, what I'm going to be talking about for each class is really just a high-level overview of the adjustments we're making, not every single one in detail. In order to find out all that detail, you're going to have to check out the patch notes, which should be going live later today, right after this stream. All right, so let's hop into the first class, which will be Barbarian. So for the Barbarian, since the PTR, we really wanted to play up the Barbarian fantasy of hitting enemies with your weapons, right? Barbarians in the past have done a lot of earthquakes and dust devils, and that's really cool and really fun, but it does lead to a little bit of a disconnect between how, the raw physicality of a barbarian. And so with that in mind, Whirlwind in particular was one that was falling behind, and so it's got actually a really massive buff since PTR, about a 60% increased base damage.
Falling behind. Boy, that's the understatement of a century. Whirlwind's been falling behind since Season 1. I'm pretty sure it's dead on the road back somewhere. I think like, what was that one vacation movie where Chevy Chase, or like the dog was like leashed to the back of the bumper and they were just driving for miles and the dog just was like bumping on the road, and then finally the dog slipped out the leash and was dead on the side of the road somewhere. That's Whirlwind. Whirlwind's the dog that was leashed to the back of the bumper and just kept hitting the road and finally just got lost. That's Whirlwind.
As well as upgrades to one of its upgrades that makes it the bleed that it applies is much more impactful now. And so really, if you're using Whirlwind for Whirlwind's sake, it's going to be much more impactful.
I love spend to win.
Absolutely, it's a really fun build on Barbarian. I just wasn't hitting the mark. Hopefully now with all of these buffs, it'll be much closer to being that competitive build. Kind of on the flip side, we've also adjusted Executioner's aspect. This is a legendary that was really good for the Earthquake builds, was one of the primary scalers there. We have capped the scaling on that. Everyone knows Earthquake Barbarian was really good in Season 7. That's what I personally played. It was a ton of fun. It was awesome. Even on the PTR after we made some adjustments, it was still kind of above that mark. And we were really hesitant to let the exact same build, exact same playstyle dominate the meta for multiple seasons in a row. We know that's you want variety, and we want to we don't want to like completely kill the build and take it off the map, but we just want to make sure that you don't feel obligated to play the exact same way season over season, because there's so many cool ways of playing classes, and we just want to make sure that that is the case. So with that in mind, we're capping the scaling on that, which should hopefully keep Earthquake builds at an appropriate spot and not as dominant as they had been. And of course, we've got some new items coming in the season. These ones were tested on PTR, and we've made some adjustments to them as well, but they mainly target Mighty Throw. We did see that on the PTR. Mighty Throw was very mighty and was led to some really cool clips of people like one-shotting some of our late game bosses, where you build up all your multipliers, Mighty Throw, and just kind of chunks their health total all the way down.
A little too mighty.
Yes, a lot of fun. We love that play style. Just the exact number tuning maybe was a bit high, so we've brought some of that down. But we still think that it's going to be really compelling to play Mighty Throw next season. Let's take a look at some of those items I'm referring to here. You've got the Bane of Ajaden, which is going to, every 12 seconds, you Mighty Throw, and it deals a ton instantly. This was one part of that one-shot build. As well as Aspect of Delayed Extinction, really changes up how you think about Mighty Throw. You're no longer reducing its cooldown with cooldown reduction. You're actually just increasing its damage kind of multiplicatively. And so it really says, hey, one big moment, you make the throw, it hits super hard, and it's a ton of fun. So we've got these new items, and so really look forward to seeing how you play with them with Mighty Throw. All right, I think we got a little clip of this in action, right? It's just, it's still quite strong against a lot of these smaller enemies. With the triple Mighty Throw here, you're going to clear out the pack pretty darn quick. All right, let's move on to the next class. We've got the Druid. So Druid, the big change here since the PTR is a big buff to Earth and Might. This is the key passive for Earth-based Druids. And in the past, all it did was it granted you a bunch of resource and gave you guaranteed critical strikes. We do know that as you're getting into the late game, you're probably getting close to maxing out your critical strike chance anyway, and so it never really found a lot of footing in late game builds. Because of that, it was kind of redundant with a lot of the problems you're already solving.
I remember video games back in the day where like getting 25% critical strike chance was like an astounding feat. And like you're like, oh my god, and they're like, how much crit do you got? You'd be like 25%, and they're like, oh my god, how did you get that much? Nah, in Diablo 4, it's like you could have 200%, literally. Like, I could get 200% crit. And granted, you're capped at 100, but, like, they make crit so easy to get in this game that it's rather pointless.
So now we've added an additional multiplicative damage for your critical strikes when Earth and Might procs. And so we think that's going to be really compelling to make it competitive with other key passives. Additionally, Druid is definitely the class that has struggled the most with early game resource, so we've made a couple adjustments there to just make sure that the early game feels a little bit smoother, some buffs to some of the resource generation. And with the Earth and Might buff, also comes a buff to Gathlin's Birthright. This is the new unique helm that really encourages you to stay in human form. We have some other unique helms that say, hey, be a werewolf all the time, or be a werebear all the time. Human form druid, the kind of non-shape-shifting one, felt a little bit left out. So we've got this new unique. Let's take a look at it here. That empowers you while you're in human form. If you're doing nature magic and you get some critical strikes, you're going to build up to Anima of the Forest. And when you do that, it grants you both the Perfect Storm and the Earth and Might key passive for a time. And of course, Earth and Might being buffed up means Gathlin's Birthright is buffed up even more. We also increased the duration of the effect. It previously on the PTR was only 10 seconds, so it had a little bit lower uptime. And we just think going up to 15 seconds means you're in this empowered state a bit more often. And it also stacks up against bosses. We know that fighting bosses is going to be an important part of the season, and so this is just much more usable since the PTR in those situations.
Very appropriate.
And of course, with aspect of impending deluge, we're talking about nature magic skills in human form. Storm Strike fits the bill there, and so this is going to be a nice piece to the puzzle for this style of build moving forward. I think we got a little video clip of Gathlin's Birthright in action. We've got your buff bar with your buffs active as you kind of get into combat and are doing these nature magic critical strikes. You're eventually going to trigger all 3 key passes at once, the one you currently have selected, as well as Earth and Might and the Perfect Storm. That'll really make a strong moment of power. You see all those buffs active on your bar down there. All right, next up we've got the Necromancer. So for Necromancer, the big story of Necro on the PTR, and I guess from last season, was that Bloodwave was pretty good. It was an okay skill. It might have been one of those ones that was kind of short-circuiting the progression into the end game. Maybe a little too good. So on the PTR, we did take several big swings at Bloodwave. We really wanted to make sure that we did not kind of repeat that situation. We do think we overswung just a little bit, so there's a little bit of a numeric buff up to Bloodwave just to make sure, because we don't want to completely eviscerate and kill these builds outright. We want that to just bring them back to a healthy spot. And so with that, we compensated Bloodwave a little bit since the PTR. One of the other big changes we made on the PTR was a rework to Blood Lance. Blood Lance was one of our best AoE-based core skills in the past. But it was like pretty terrible at single target situations. And so we did a little bit of a rework where it gained some single target viability at the expense of AoE. And we definitely think we swung a little too hard and killed its AoE a little too much. So we've caused it to be always spreading, which helps it to ramp up a little bit faster in those AoE situations. So we think that'll kind of bring it to a more healthy balance compared to where it was in terms of the AoE and single target balance. And finally, we also made Vampiric Curse is now actually a curse. Turns out it's in the name. It just made sense. That's particularly relevant for the new unique item. We can take a look at that, the Sanguivar Blade of Zir. This is the new unique item in the season that causes your summons, your skeleton warriors and mages and golem, to apply Vampiric Curse to enemies. And by doing that, you're going to stack up this Vampiric Curse effect, and when you cast Army of the Dead, it's going to unleash the Vampiric Curse. We think it's a really cool playstyle. Of course, the curse now interacts with all of your curse effects, like damage to cursed enemies, or when you apply a curse, do a thing. It all works with that. And of course, this item itself was buffed up a few times since the PTR as well. Its multiplicative scalar at the bottom has been increased, as well as some of the affixes on it have gotten some improvements as well to really make sure that this style of play really hits the mark. Additionally, we've got a new legendary aspect, the aspect of service and sacrifice. I really love the playstyle of this. It causes your skeleton warriors to explode on death, and they lose health while in combat. So they kind of are expendable, army fodder, while your mages are a bit more resilient and kind of providing that constant backline. You're summoning these warriors to go run in and die. Provides an interesting little difference in play style. And this one also was just a little bit under the mark on the PTR, and so we've increased the raw damage output that the skeleton warriors are doing since PTR. I think we got a clip of some of these in action, right? So you got your warriors here, they're running up. Even though they're not taking too many hits, they do eventually die in combat and do a little explosion to clear out. If you stacked up all of your Vampiric Curse, when you cast Army of the Dead, you just get this like chain of these skeletons spawning out from you that run out and also kind of contribute to the damage output of that Army of the Dead. I think it's really cool and adds a bigger moment when you press that Army of the Dead effect. We also got a bit on Bloodlance. I kind of alluded to it earlier here. This is the updated tooltip. It'll now always spread its lanced effect, that additional debuff that causes its damage to arc to other enemies. On the PTR, it would only spread if you had already lanced them. Now it'll always do it. It's kind of always a 2-target cleave effect. So that should just help with kind of ramping up its damage. And then if you're hitting somebody who already has the debuff, it deals double damage, and that really helps its bossing that single target capabilities.
Poke Belial in the eye.
Oh yeah, poke him in the eye many times. Let's take
one of his many eyes.
Yeah,
There's a lot of them.
exactly.
We need a lot of blood lenses.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the clip here real quick, right? So even as you're going into the pack, it's just you're going to get that lance debuff, that like red glow with the kind of arcing lines between enemies. Just going to ramp up that much faster, and really helps you clear out packs just a little bit quicker than it was before. All right, let's move on to the Rogue. On the Rogue, there are a couple adjustments. One was a change to the way Shadow Clone and its rank 5 upgrade worked. Previously, when you got Shadow Clone to rank 5, when you cast it, it became a Cutthroat skill, which was a little weird and unintuitive in terms of like what did it interact with? Did it count as a Cutthroat skill for various effects? We decided to kind of clarify that and just make Shadow Clone always baseline Cutthroat skill. Which means anything that your Shadow Clone like mimics from you. So if you cast, Penetrating Shot and your Shadow Clone mimics it, the Shadow Clone's version counts as a Cutthroat skill for any kind of modifiers or damage bonuses you might have. Just kind of a nice little quality of life there. Death Trap was kind of the big story of Rogue, I think, on the PTR, where Death Trap was really good. It was a little too good. It had a number of reworks come into it, and specifically on Scoundrel's Leather unique, that caused you to teleport to the position where you're throwing your Death Trap, which was really cool and really fun, but ultimately it meant that the build kind of solved too many problems right away. Just like we had talked about previously with Bloodwave and some other builds, it was a little too easy to do everything. You had damage, you had cooldown reduction, you had teleport and mobility, you pulled in enemies with Death Trap. And so with that in mind, and it was also a little too easy to get to that state where you had 0 cooldown on it.
Yeah, especially with the Uravar bombs.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we talked about the Uravar bombs and how we're adjusting that away from flat reduction. We also just increased the base cooldown on Death Trap by a little bit and reduced some of its sources of cooldown reduction. We still anticipate once you're really getting into that hyper late game and your build's super optimized, you get the right masterworking and tempers, you're still going to get to that state. It's just going to take a little longer to get there. It's not quite as trivial to be chain spamming that. And also we have removed the teleport from Scoundrel's Leather when you cast it. That was something that kind of just put it over. It checked too many boxes, and we know that Rogue is already one of our most mobile classes. You've got Dash, you've got Shadow Step, you've got plenty of other ways of moving around the battlefield that we felt like this was a little too much for this build in particular. So we've done a number of things to tune that back, and we think it'll still be a very strong build. We just want to make sure that it doesn't really trivialize the game like it was on the PTR.
Yeah, I'm still going to play this.
Absolutely. It's still going to be a great build, I am sure.
I play only Rogue lately. I mean, I have a Rogue tattoo, so it's like it makes sense. Things I did not expect to hear on a stream, but yeah, you can call it. But yeah, I plan on playing Rogue. So
nice. Well, there's also some new items that talk to the other trap in Rogue's kit, Poison Trap, the Bands of Icarus Rose. We can take a look at that here. This is one of the problems with Poison Trap before was that it really struggled to fit into a lot of builds. It didn't really synergize with a lot of your effects like combo points or your other class mechanics. And so now with the new unique, Poison Trap is going to deal all of its damage kind of up front, right over the first 3 seconds rather than a long 9-second duration. So you really get much higher DPS, benefits from its upgrades, which are even more empowered, and it benefits from all of your class mechanics, your combo points, inner sight, or preparation. So if you're playing Poison Trap, this is just like really makes it a marquee skill, and I'm really excited to see the kind of builds that emerge with this new unique. Similarly, the legendary aspect of contamination adds a little bit of an extra burst to it, which can increase your poison damage and rewards you for building up a more critical strike chance. I think we've got a clip.
So quick little tidbit here. Every single time they mess with the duration of a poison, it fails horribly. They don't seem to understand how to actually manipulate poison duration or bleed duration or burning duration or any of that stuff. They make the durations shorter, and then by default they actually lose damage. Like 99% of the time, whenever I have anything in this game which reduces the duration of a poison or reduces the duration of a bleed, it almost invariably reduces the damage that the skill outputs. It's absolutely insane. And increasing the duration actually increases the damage that the skill does by a massive proportion. So I fully expect this to not function properly and literally just to nerf the damage of the poison trap or to just be like break even. So it's basically the same as it was before, because almost every single time they've manipulated any kind of duration of any kind of bleed or poison or ignite, it is almost always invariably ended up in less damage, not more.
Of this in action as well. And this is like probably my favorite clip in here because you just kind of put the enemy to sleep. He just falls down and stays down because one of the upgrades on Poison Trap knocks down an enemy, and with Bands of Icarus Rose, it's going to increase that knockdown timer. It's going to double that knockdown timer, and so it can really, really put enemies to sleep. And if you got enough DPS, you're going to shred right through them.
Yes, in Torment 2. And just about anything is going to be able to shred through anything in Torment 2.
All right, let's move on to the Sorcerers. On the Sorceress, there's a number of bigger changes here. The biggest one probably being the rework to Avalanche, which was one of the key passives that talked to Frost skills. Previously, it was a lucky hit effect that would give you a free cast. We did not really find that super compelling or super empowering. So we'll take a look at that in just a moment, the new reworked version. We also smoothed out Familiar, the Conjuration skill. We smoothed out its animation quite a bit. There's a lot of feedback, which was around it. It just didn't feel right to press. The game feel there, you know, you press the button, you're like, it took too long to come out. Your character was kind of rooted in place for a little too long. So we've sped that up a little bit, so it feels much smoother to weave into your play style.
Yeah, it felt really sticky with the amount of charges we gave you too. You start with 3 and you're just sort of stuck there.
Yeah, you're like, I want to cast all 3, but then it was like, I felt like I was just being rooted in place for to cast this skill. So we've definitely updated that. And of course, the new items are talking about ice shards quite a bit, and so we'll take a look at that in a moment. First, let's look at the Avalanche rework. This has kind of been simplified down a little bit with previous lucky hit and some bonus casts. Now it's just going to always affect all of your frost skills. They're going to cost less mana and deal increased damage. And then if you apply vulnerable to the enemies, you're going to get even more bonus. And so this is really just right along the lines of what Frost skills wants to be doing. It's really looking to when you had like some of the complexity in the previous version of Avalanche, we didn't really feel like it added that much to the gameplay, and so we looked at where we can just empower the build, simplify it a little bit in terms of gameplay, because we didn't really feel like the old version was really hitting that mark.
Yeah, it's also true frost and true cold, which we haven't really seen too much of.
Right, absolutely. Next, we got the new items, the Hail of Verglass. This is the new unique helm that is really potent for your Ice Shards build. Ice Shards are going to be spreading out and dealing a spread of damage rather than just a single straight line.
Ice Shards has always traditionally been very good in AoE situations. It has never suffered in AoE situations. In fact, I think Ice Shards is probably one of the strongest AoE clear builds in the game due to the fact that Ice Shards functions in a very specific like AoE kind of way. Like basically that you can like shoot free Ice Shards at anything that's frozen, and all you have to do is freeze things, and then the Ice Shards literally shoot at everything that can possibly be frozen on the screen. It has never suffered an AoE damage, and I don't know why they're taking Ice Shards and turning it into a even more AoE ability during a season where they need single target damage. If you choose this build, I hate to tell you, you're going to suffer. You're going to suffer in the fires of eternity. This is not going to do damage versus bosses, and the entire season is designed around bosses. You will clear things. You will clear like no man, like no tomorrow. Every single trash mob and elite monster you'll probably walk through. But as soon as you get to bosses, you're gonna have a struggle, literally a struggle.
It kind of helps with its AoE potential. You do more damage if you're hitting them with multiple Ice Shards, and of course you get even more. So really an interesting way to update the playstyle there. And Shivering Aspect is going to give you some more multiplicative damage based on how much you're chilling enemies, once again, playing into the cold builds, but also by how much you've staggered a boss. We know that this has been a pain point across all of the classes where some of these bonuses to crowd-controlled enemies don't work on bosses. And of course, being Belial's return with the season of bosses, we really want to make sure that many of these effects do in fact work against boss fights in a way that just makes sense, rather than feeling like, oh, I'm a crowd control based build, now I'm suddenly I lose out on so many of these bonuses against bosses. We don't really want that to be the case. That's not the kind of playstyle we want to encourage. Where you feel punished for taking on bosses, and so many effects like Shivering Aspect do work against bosses in addition to crowd-controlled kind of normal enemies. And we've also got just a side-by-side comparison of familiars. So on the left we got before, you can see how long it kind of takes you to cast all three and then to get moving afterwards. And on the right, the after version, much faster, much snappier animation, and you can get on the move and continue on with combat that much quicker. It's going to feel a lot better to play. All right, and the final class, we've got the Spiritborn. So the Spiritborn, probably the biggest thing that we've updated since the PTR was a bug fix on the unyielding hits aspect. This is one of the most popular legendary aspects that Spiritborn players have been using. It increases your weapon damage, like your weapon like raw damage just goes up. And so you would think, hey, that increases all of my damage output because everything is kind of based on your weapon. That was true for most cases, but there was a few interactions where it wasn't properly working, notably with the Eagle Spirit Hall bonus that would throw out the Quill Volley Feathers, and also with the new unique, the Sunbird's Gorget. It was not properly working there. So now it will be working. Now it's a really powerful multiplier to work into those builds, and we think that's going to help quite a bit to make sure those builds are competitive. We've also heard the feedback that basic skill builds have not really hit the mark, and so Sepizontek, that's the unique that really empowers those basic builds. We've given some numeric buffs there just to make sure that, just give them that little bit of a bump to bring them up to par. And finally, wanted to highlight those new items and reworks that we were talking about, the Sunbird's Gorget. Let's take a look at this new unique amulet. This one's really cool. It promotes a very alternative playstyle where you're all about spawning storm feathers, and as you pick them up, you spawn this firestorm around you that grows and intensifies the more storm feathers you pick up. So you really want to be spawning a bunch of them and then moving around and collecting them up. And it deals more damage, it grows in size, and the storm feathers and the firestorm benefit from all of your skill tags, all of your jaguar skills, your eagle skills, and the storm feather tag. Really a very cool alternative playstyle here. Rather than just casting basic or core skills, you're focusing on storm feathers instead. Additionally, we've got a new aspect to buff up the Rushing Claw skill, which really struggled to find its place. We've also got a little bit of a rework to Rushing Claw, some of its upgrades that we'll show in a moment. First, let's take a video clip on the Sunbirds here. Right, you got your line of storm feathers all in a row. You go and you pick them up, and you get this cool little firestorm around you. And the more you pick up, the more you spawn, the stronger and bigger it gets up to a cap, and it can really help with kind of that AoE damage to clear out packs. I alluded a little bit to the Rushing Claw rework. So we've got the two upgrades on the skill tree. We've got Invasive Rushing Claw. This is what was probably the most popular one that was previously being used, where when you run out of charges of it, you will consume 4 stacks of ferocity to kind of refresh the charges. In this case, you're kind of constantly spamming this button over and over again. It's really like your primary skill of your build. Now there's an alternative playstyle with Poised Rushing Claw, which gives it much increased maximum charges, but when you cast it, it does consume all of those charges. So those charges are no longer how many times can I cast the skill. It's really kind of a stacking damage multiplier, is how many charges. So if you have cooldown reduction or ways of reducing your cooldown, you're actually stacking up damage on a Rushing Claw, and it's going to hit a much larger area. So let's take a look. We've got Poised Rushing Claw here. This is the one big hit, right? It hits 3 times the area, clears right through a pack, but you can't hit it that often. Alternatively, you've got Invasive Rushing Claws, which lets you kind of slice through the pack. You constantly have this available to you as it refreshes its cooldown, or you save up for this one big moment. So really interesting, 2 different ways of playing the skill now.
Yeah, I love when we're able to actually do that, where a skill can actually function in a completely different way. I think that's some of the best work that we have on our skills.
Yeah, absolutely. I love just giving you alternative ways of playing it, like the same base effect, but just really recontextualizing what you're looking for in itemization or in other legendary effects, or just in moment-to-moment gameplay. I think that's where some of our best best gameplay comes out.
Yeah, I think we want to be doing more of that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Charles, for walking us through all the class changes that are coming with Season 8, and of course the PTR changes that we kind of went over a few of them really quickly here. Again, everyone will be able to see this earpiece, guys. It's fallen off like 10 times, and when the camera's been on, there it goes. I'm going to fish for it for like 10 minutes. It's just gone. You can check out the patch notes immediately after this stream. We'll have it on Diablo4.com, and that is pretty extensive. It goes through every single thing that we've talked about, plus more that we couldn't fit into the stream because we'd probably keep you here for 8 hours if we just went over all the patch notes specifically. So make sure to check that out. Of course, with a new season comes a lot of changes that are coming within the systems as well. And so, Colin, do you want to walk us through some of the big changes that we have coming?
Yeah, we cherry picked some things just to keep it quick. So I'd love to jump into the next slide, which definitely wasn't adjusted, but that's okay. I remember some of the things. We removed Conduit Shrine just for this season. We heard feedback that maybe it wasn't the greatest of shrines in previous seasons. It was actually a tease for Belial. He was just screwing you over. So we're just taking it offline.
It's not really a shrine.
Yeah, it's not really a powerful thing. What if you just couldn't cast your skills for 15 seconds? We removed it. We're going to take it offline. We're going to rework it into something more powerful and better. So look forward to that in the future. We also brought back the Ancestral Whisper caches from Season 7. This is just sort of an example of things that we're trying to pull in from previous seasons that we think are working really well. I think it's going to pair nicely with the Apparition, Incursion, Whispers, so sometimes you're going to get a really badass cache out of it. Obel Gambler. What does that mean? We've buffed the shit out of the Obel Gambler. So generally in Torment Plus, when you buy an entire inventory full of loot from the Gambler, at least generally one of them should be Ancestral, sometimes more. So it's going to be mostly legendaries that actually come out of the Obels. So I think it's going to be a pretty massive buff. The second thing that's not listed here is that we've also made leveling glyphs easier from the PTR. So now you can actually level glyphs at like a 50 pit tier deficit. It's just out of chance. So if you're not able to get to pit tier 100, you're still able to grind through and eventually level those glyphs up. We think that this just is a little bit more forgiving, and it makes sure that like you don't necessarily have to play an S tier build to actually level up those glyphs all the way. You just are going to take longer. And then the second thing, or I keep saying the second thing, the other thing that we've done is we actually didn't talk about this in the PTR, but we changed tempering, and I just wanted to say because I think it's amazing. Tempering will remember the recipe now, so you're able to just sort of hit it.
Nice. I think that's searching through the list and then going back over every single time.
Yeah, it was another Belialism. Yeah. He wanted you to go through the flow again. We've made that a lot better. So I think like that covers a lot of the sort of cherry-picked cool things that I thought was worth talking about.
Yeah, most definitely. And then I know we have some other big changes that are coming. Maybe this is the second thing again.
I remember the second thing, actually.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I totally forgot to put this on there. So in the PTR, we took some pretty big swings on leveling progression and torment progression. And I just want to sort of rehash what you're saying, which is the PTR is a place to test. It's a place to test. We might put things in that we're not necessarily committed to because we want to test it. So your feedback is super valuable. It's a discussion always, right, with the community and the players. We ourselves play the PTRs to feel things out. It's a really good place for us to do that because we're able to play with some of you all. Might be me on the other side of the screen griefing you or something. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. So I think one of the things we did is tone back the leveling speed reduction. So it's a little bit slower, but it's not as slow as it was in the PTR. We just want to sort of smooth out that leveling experience. It's not really that big of a difference in terms of Season 8. And the other thing we did also change is the Torment and Pit scaling. So we've nerfed that from what it was on PTR, but it's still a little bit stronger than it was on Season 7. Again, really, this is sort of us trying to find the sweet spot of introducing a bunch of new seasonal power We also want to make sure Torment progression feels as good as it did in Season 6, where you sort of have this like journey and sort of challenge that you need to face to overcome. We think unlocking that power and progressing through our game just is that much sweeter when you hit that sweet spot of actually having to work for some of this stuff. So we've pared it back. You can think about it as Torment 1 is about a pit tier harder than Season 7, and Torment 4 is about 6 to 7 pit tiers harder than it was on Season 7 coming in Season 8. So we have pared back. Feedback was super helpful. I know everyone was losing their minds that we made the game doubly hard. That's just sort of how we balance things on the PTR, is we either double or half it. It just helps us sort of lock in a good middle ground. We also find that if we buff it like 10%, it's like, did we even change anything?
Negligible, you don't know.
Yeah, and we don't want to sort of take an approach where we like stealthily make the game harder over 3 seasons. So we just want to sort of figure out a good middle ground. So that was the second thing.
That was the second thing. Yeah. And so the other second thing is we have some big changes that are coming to the season journey as well. And I know you wanted to talk about some of that.
Yeah, so with the changes that we'll talk about after this, with the introduction of Reliquary, we've actually taken an opportunity to separate out the season's journey from the Battle Pass. So that also means all of the ashes that you would earn have been taken out of the Battle Pass. You no longer sort of have this complicated system where you're doing the season's journey to earn favor, to then progress the Battle Pass, to then try and get your ashes, but those are level locked. It was just too many things. So we've taken it out. Now it's very clear. And I think the season's journey is going to feel a lot more rewarding in that now all the ashes are earned through the season's journey. We also have individual rewards for each objective within a chapter. And we've also just refreshed the UI, so we're able to compact and sort of consolidate some of the objectives into a really clear sort of singular objective. You'll notice, like, if you put on your glasses, I have to like lean in to actually read some of these things. But you'll notice that some of these objectives have sub-objectives, and it just sort of better encapsulates what we are asking you to do. So I think this is going to be a pretty big win for the overall system. It lets us evolve it a little bit more now that it's detached from the Battle Pass. And I think it's just overall a much cleaner and rewarding experience.
Yeah, most definitely. I know that the season's blessings being moved into season journey and like being less complicated when it was in the Battle Pass was a big thing we've heard from some players, because I know there's points where we actually had moments where sometimes maybe a player would end up getting a season blessing or so just buying like an accelerator or whatever. So this now completely detaches it from it, which is a really big thing that we wanted to hit on, especially with feedback from players. So thank you, Colin, for walking us through. There's more changes in the patch notes that Colin hit on here. So again, check them out afterwards. But one thing we did want to talk about, and this is kind of alluding to what Colin was talking about beforehand with the season journey, is the Reliquary itself. Reliquary, if you guys actually read the blog earlier this week for Season 8, the Reliquary is a brand new system that is being added into Diablo 4. It actually starts with Season 8 specifically and will be in seasons going forward. But this is kind of a change to the whole entire Battle Pass system. It gives players a lot more control, a little bit more choice on exactly rewards that they want. Plus, it gives more variety in the actual rewards that they're going to be getting. I was not. We actually have a video for the Reliquary. Funny enough, I was not planning on hosting today. Marcus is actually out sick today, so get well, Marcus. Have a smoothie. So I am hosting, and Marcus was supposed to throw to this video, which is done by myself. So I will be throwing it to myself to talk a little bit more about Reliquary, so you guys get a little bit of a better understanding of what
some sort of deep lore with smoothies going on. Like last Campfire, they were talking about smoothies, and like they didn't bring Adam smoothie. Like somebody went out for smoothies and they didn't have any smoothies. Like, but they didn't bring Adam back, and Adam was pissed because he didn't get his smoothie, and like everybody else was drinking smoothies, but he didn't get one. And then he just made another smoothie comment. There's some kind of dark lore about smoothies that we don't know. We're gonna learn about it one day. Apparently, there was probably the smoothie incident.
What the new system is. Hi everyone, I'm thrilled to share the exciting changes coming to Season 8 Belial's Return with the Reliquary system. This refresh to the Battle Pass system puts choice at the forefront, allowing you to select the order in which you unlock rewards from different catalogs. You alone will determine how to spend the favor you earn from slaying demons and completing quests in both seasonal and eternal realms, picking rewards that speak most to your character's fantasy. Now we're going to look at the features of the system, how to unlock rewards from it, and what you can expect to find in each Reliquary. In the Battle Pass reliquaries, you will find individual catalogs you can earn rewards from, each one being a reliquary. With the launch of the upcoming season, Belial's Return, you will have these Battle Pass reliquary options: Belial's Return, weapons, beasts, and armor. Each reliquary contains cosmetic rewards to customize your Wanderer. To earn these rewards, players will need to acquire Favor, which is gained by killing monsters and completing quests. Each time you fill a bar, you acquire 1 favor token. You can hold up to 99 favor tokens at a time and must spend some before you're able to earn more. Also note that up to 99 favor tokens do carry over from season to season if you don't spend it, giving you a head start on next season's reliquaries. Let's dive a little deeper by checking out Belial's Return, a Battle Pass reliquary available for everyone on season launch. Here you will choose the order in which rewards are unlocked. Items in a reliquary can be claimed in whatever order you desire, and you can claim items for any reliquary while it's available. So if you want this badass Celestian mount before the Star-Crossed Pathtown portal, the power of choice is in your hand. You may have noticed one item in the above reliquary has a star icon on it. This is a bonus reward. These rewards are automatically unlocked once you have claimed all other items in the specific reliquary using Favor. Bonus rewards are just that, a bonus, and don't require Favor to claim. Remember to claim them as soon as they are unlocked. Wanderers who complete all Battle Pass reliquaries will receive the pieces needed to arm themselves in the menacing Guise of the Deceiver armor set. There will be 2 Battle Pass bundle options for players. The Premium Battle Pass bundle unlocks all 3 premium reliquaries at a discount, while the Deluxe Battle Pass bundle gives instant access to the bonus armor set and 2 additional rewards you won't find in other reliquaries. Lastly, reliquaries introduce the ability for us to now create unique tie-ins for future events and IP collaborations. These are completely separate from the Battle Pass, and we're looking forward to creating special moments for all players out there. Let's go through our first example with our Diablo and Berserk collaboration coming soon. Our first collab reliquary will have a unique currency that players can acquire in-game called Behelits. This will roll out in early May, and we're looking forward to you gathering and earning Berserk-themed cosmetics. Events will generally be available for shorter periods of time, so you should check on this tab every now and then. Reliquaries launch with Season 8 Belial's Return. For more details, check out our Reliquary System section in the official Season 8 blog. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all in Sanctuary. Thanks, Adam, for the, for the update on Reliquaries. It's very odd seeing myself on camera and having cut myself cut to myself for Reliquaries. But if you want to learn more about Reliquaries itself, we do have a pretty deep dive on it in our Season 8 blog, which was posted on Monday, so just go to Diablo4.com. You can check out Reliquaries. We're going to hear how Reliquaries feels with people when they jump into the game on Season 8, so let us know, jump in, try it out, see how it works out, and provide feedback, because we're always open to hearing about more related to anything related to Diablo 4. That's what I meant to say. So next up, one thing that we did want to talk about, and this kind of actually ties back into what I was talking about on the video, which is our first IP collab. This is something that we teased last week and we announced earlier this week that we're super stoked about, and this is the Berserk Diablo collab. It's kind of like the collab that is like a match made in hell, haha. Just because if you're a fan of Berserk, you probably know how well that melds in with the Diablo universe. So it's really, really cool. This is actually launching on May 6th. And again, it has an event reliquary with some cosmetics that are associated with it, as you guys saw in the video. And some of them are really, really cool. There's a ton of cool stuff for people to actually collect and of course, grab. And some of the items in the event reliquary that I mentioned on the video are here, including gear, banners for your actual character, markings on your character as well. And then there's other cosmetics available that will be available in the shop that are really, really cool as well, that are throwbacks essentially to Berserk, which I believe we have here. We got one, I know, for the Necromancer, the Barb, and the Rogue. These look absolutely sick. That Necromancer one is ridiculous.
Metal.
Really, really cool. And then one other thing is, this is disturbing, but also awesome. And I'm going to butcher the name. This is Chimimoro? Chimimoro? Yeah, Chimimoro from Berserk. funny enough, a really popular character that doesn't appear much in the Berserk manga, but we also nickname him the Schnoz, is a pet that will also be available in Diablo 4 with the Berserk Diablo collab. It's adorable. It's disturbing.
Don't you just want to pick it?
And yeah, you want to pick the schnoz nose thing. It does actually have an animation where the booger is running out of the nose, which is even more adorable. Or
His
disturbing.
name is Chimimoro.
Chimimoro.
Or
Wuru.
no, we're butchering.
Now we're butchering
It's
it.
fine.
But yes, but yeah. So this is part of the Berserk collab. This is going to be running from May 6th through June 3rd. So make sure to actually check it out. So it'll be a little bit after the start of Season 8, because Season 8 will be starting on April 29th. One other thing that we did want to also call out is that Twitch drops are coming back for Season 8. We actually have a new weapon that will be available, and that will be from April 29th through May 13th. You essentially just have to watch 3 hours on any person that is streaming Diablo 4 during those time periods, and make sure that you have Twitch drops enabled and your account's all connected and everything like that. And you'll end up getting a new weapon cosmetic, which is really cool, and we'll show it here in a second. Separately, we do have a support a streamer program that is going on that is also tied with Berserk, but this is the weapon here. It's the Marrow of the Brutes. It's a two-handed sword. Looks really sick. Super stoked for this one. And then we have a support a streamer. This one is gift or purchase just one sub to any content creator that is streaming Diablo 4 between May 6th and June 3rd. This is between the Berserk timelines. And you'll get this cool mount trophy, which is the Skull Behelit mount trophy that will be available May 6th through June 3rd. So Twitch drops is coming back for the start of Season 8, and then we'll have a supporter streamer that will start with the Berserk collab. So a lot of cool stuff that is coming up, and that's all the content that we have here. I know, as we always do for every single stream, we do go into a Q&A. So I know we do want to talk about a few items within the Q&A. So if you're on Twitch... It's one of those days, everyone. Throwing to myself, squeaky voices, earpiece doesn't stand, stuff like that. Chimimoro. But if you do have questions in chat, make sure to ask them on Twitch. We have chat enabled there. We'll be taking them. There's a few things I know as we wait on questions kind of kicking in. And there goes the earpiece. There needs to be like a compilation of like the earpiece falling out of my ear this whole entire broadcast. But a few things that we did want to talk about. One was we had a roadmap that came out earlier this month that players actually saw. And something that, Colin and you and I have been talking about is a lot of players were they saw it and they're going like, hey, is this it? Is this all you guys have on the roadmap? And it's something that we just kind of wanted to reiterate that, we do plan on actually making updates to the roadmap as we progress through the timeline. And then, as we get further down the timeline, there are things that, will become more clear that we'll be updating within these updates that I think players are really hopeful to see. We've heard from some of the feedback. And some of those things I know we had chatted about were really around some things around skill trees. Yeah. Like, are we planning on doing updates to skill trees? Are there any updates to additional end game features? And I know you and I had chatted a little bit about it.
Yeah, we chat every day, right? They call me up at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just eating dinner. Just wanted to chat with Colin.
Yeah. And I'm like, let me wrap up this nightmare dungeon out. Yeah, let's talk about it. So I think something that we can talk about is the skill tree is something that we are definitely looking at in terms of doing some sort of major updates too. We also are taking a look at aspects, because aspect skill tree sort of very similar in the same space. It is a lot of moving parts, so we want to get it right. So it is a pretty major thing that we need to take our time on and need to work through so it hits the players at a really high quality bar. So there are lots of things like that we are talking about and we're having conversations about. So really the roadmap to us is more just a starting point to help sort of flesh out and sort of continue the discussion with you all on how we're building Diablo 4.
Exactly, and as we progress through the timeline itself and we update the roadmap, some of these things that we just talked about here will be populated in there, and you guys will see exactly when those will end up landing. So really looking forward to updating that and keeping that updated for everyone out there so you guys have better clarity on exactly what's to come for Diablo 4. And there's a ton more to come, which we're super stoked about. Separately, I know that you know, the seasons themselves have been a big topic amongst players of like, because you know, for us, I think seasons has always been kind of a opportunity for us to really change Diablo 4 and learn more and more about what players really enjoy. You know, we saw that with, you know, past seasons where we've brought back things like Malignant Rings, we brought back things like Vampiric Powers. We even saw that in this stream where we're bringing back some of those the Whisper Ancestral caches and everything like that. And so I know we talked about opportunities, I think, for the community to really you know, provide some feedback over to us of like, what are some of those things that you guys really enjoy? Because we most definitely want to hear you guys out, see what we can do to maybe reintroducing some of those things to kind of keep things like fresh for players.
Yeah, it's really like we look to to sort of you all to help inform what are the things that are working really well. We also play the game a lot, and we sort of like testing out things in seasons to bring back. I think a really great example of this is, if you remember all the way back in season 2, which is kind of crazy, it's like over a year now. We learned a lot with the sort of blood harvest, right? And we took a lot of those learnings and put it into HellTide in season 4. Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways that it sort of manifests itself in terms of us evolving Diablo 4 over time, bringing things back. We just want to make sure we bring it back in a way that services the overall game and just helps level up the entire game. We just want to make sure that we don't necessarily bring things back that disrupt the fun of the game or sort of ruin the experience. So it's a fine balance on like, what can we bring in? We want to make sure that we're doing it right. Seasons is a way for us to really test out some crazy stuff where we're okay with things breaking. Like I think Boss Powers is a great example of like, yeah, it's going to definitely disrupt the balance of the game. What are some of the things that we might actually want to pull in or learn from this? So we're always talking about it, and we would love to hear from you on sort of what you think is working really well.
Yeah, because once we hear back from you guys, it gives us, you know, the opportunity to really just like take that, learn, and really start building upon that. Like maybe, for instance, a great example I think is like Abattoir's Year. Abattoir's Year was a great learning point from us, where it essentially evolved into what we now have as the Pit, which is really cool to see. So let us know. We most definitely want to keep learning and growing from some of these seasons as they progress, and give us the feedback of what you guys want to kind of see coming back into Diablo 4 to keep things, you know, dynamic and fresh for everyone out there. So we're gonna now jump into. After I ignored this, please update your computer. We're going to jump into questions. So if you have questions, again, just feel free to drop them into Twitch chat. We'll try to get through as many as possible. We have a question from Tralamaza that says, are boss keys still tradable?
Yes. Yes.
So players can still trade those, even with all the changes to Lair bosses and everything like that. You most definitely can. I
actually think I just want to talk about it a little bit because I think it's actually interesting now that
Please don't
keys
talk.
are going to be drained from the economy much faster now that everyone has to pay their share. I think the key economy trading-wise is actually going to be a little bit more interesting and that they're worth a little bit more. I also think it just works well if you're playing at a party and someone's missing out on a couple of keys, you can trade it to them. So it still sort of maintains that sort of social element where if you and I are playing and you're missing out on some keys, I can give it to you. You might trade me some. So it all still works.
Especially since the more players in your party still amplifies the reward of the boss that it gives you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Why so Blue Panda Bear? I don't know why you're so Blue Panda Bear. Are you still planning on doing immediate fixes for classes that are too OP instead of waiting until mid-season patch?
Yeah, that's definitely our shifted philosophy that we talked about on the PTR live stream a while back, where we're really looking at that first week or two right after launch. So really next week and the week after, we're going to be taking a big focus on looking for those really big outlier builds, those ones that are really maybe shortcutting the progression of the game or kind of blowing out the powers that we expect. And looking to make rapid reaction. It's always in the interest of respecting players' time. We don't want it to last too long and then we nerf it later and you feel bad that, hey, I invested so much time in this. We really want to be rapid in our response to that. With that being said, we are going to be kind of measured in that response. We don't want, if something is just strong, if it's like, hey, this is a strong build, I'm able to do the game, we're not going to just come in and nerf anything that is strong. We're really focusing on the big outliers, both on the high end and on the low end. If something is dramatically underperforming, we'll look to make rapid reaction there as well. But it's all about making sure that you feel comfortable investing in your build, which is why we want to get that out sooner this season and all seasons moving forward.
Yeah, again, it's about taking something that's like S+ to S, right? So we're not looking to crater or just kneecap any of these crazy builds.
Just Tanya Harding people, huh?
Serious Kingsley actually are asking a question that we kind of just addressed in what we were talking about in the beginning, where they're saying like, hey, can we get seasonal mechanics more, maybe become permanent as like in-game systems? Or Sir Kingsley asked, can we get seasonal powers added to the game permanently? This kind of just goes back to what we were saying beforehand of let us know what you guys like what you guys what resonated really well with you guys during seasons, and we can look at what we can end up bringing back and incorporating into the game so that Diablo 4 is constantly evolving for players specifically from that end. Condis asks, was campaign XP / leveling nerfed since PTR?
So we did adjust. So I'll take the full journey. So in Season 8 PTR, we did slow things down substantially. We didn't touch campaign or anything like that. And then in Season 8, we have pared back the nerfs that we did to leveling. So it's a lot more similar to Season 7. It's just a little bit more streamlined. We haven't touched campaign XP or anything like that.
Question from Quig6246. Can you guys, or for the Q&A later, can you ask, is the new Stormstrike aspect, will it also apply to the free cast from the Crone staff for Druid?
I'm pretty sure it should.
We'll double confirm. And a great opportunity for you to follow up with Charles on our Sanctuary Discord after the stream, because he's actually going to be doing an additional Q&A on our Sanctuary Discord. So after the stream, it might be a good follow-up.
I can also just speak a bit more to the, we really want our tooltips that have a lot of clarity around the skills. And so I'm stalling for time. If we could get production to bring up that slide one more time, I can tell you with certainty, because when we're looking at skill tooltips and we use the word cast, like when you cast Stormstrike with capital C, that refers to when you actually press the button and do it. If we don't use the word cast and we just say Stormstrike does a thing, that should work in cases where it gets kind of what we call auto-casted by something else, by like the Great Staff of the Crone, it auto-casts Stormstrike. And so depending on the precise wording there, it should clarify that interaction. That's kind of what we want to stick to make sure things are clear to players. Is using that cast wording to differentiate those two cases.
Oh, do we have it on screen?
And it does look like, it does not use the cast terminology here. It just says Stormstrike will just chain to twice as many targets. And so that should be working whenever it's auto-cast from that the Great Staff of the Crone effect. Thank you so much, production.
That is actually a really good clarification, I think, and knowledgeable for a lot of people about the differences between the term cast and no cast.
Yeah, I believe we've been trying to communicate that. We've got like a loading screen tooltip in the game. It's easy to miss and totally understandable. But that's definitely something that on the class design side, we really want to make sure we're being clear about these interactions, because we know there's so many interactions in the game. So any opportunity to clarify these things, we're definitely going to make sure we do our best in that regard.
We got a question from Chicken Wing 929. Good name. You said in the last live stream that you wanted Torment 4 to be aspirational, so that only 10% of players will reach it. Will there be a seasonal objectives that must be completed in Torment 4 difficulty? So players will probably see in this season, like as they get to the last chapter, there are going to be some Torment 4 specific requirements on some of those things. And there's like a fine balance, I think, that we're trying to strike, where it's like, do we want there to be like aspirational goals and rewards for players within the season journey itself? And then there's also like, okay, we understand that some of those things may require a decent amount of time or a specific build. So we really do want to hear like some feedback after players jump into the season, what they feel works really well, what they don't feel works really well, especially for season journey and some of those later achievements that you have to obtain. So let us know. Like we're open to hearing about it, and we most definitely want to figure out exactly where there's still like aspirational goals, but maybe rewards that maybe can be adjusted around or something like that from the season journey itself.
Yeah, definitely open to change.
Question from Dalius. Are there any plans on adding bounties or other small in-game activities to fill in between other objectives possibly?
I think that's definitely an interesting space that we've talked about, and it's one of those things that we want to do it right. Currently, right now, we're using the Whisper system to sort of do that. You see that with the Apparition incursions, where periodically, the Apparition incursion will get that Whisper that you're able to go do. I think the one thing that really kind of you don't love about the Whispers right now is that it is based on a timer. We set the timer to be pretty generous. They're constantly rolling, but we know that this is something that we can improve on, so it's something we definitely are interested in taking a look at.
Awesome. Question from Halvane. Have you thought about buffing glyph building from content other than pits, like dungeons, whispers, bosses?
So we've made a change to make it so the pit can level those at a much higher deficit, so minus 50. We do like that this is a reward for pushing in the pit. We kind of like when the rewards are pretty clear what you need to do for it. We also like that of all the different activities in the game, the pit's uniqueness is that it is one of the few activities that allows you to sort of modulate your personal difficulty, and we want to continue that sort of paradigm where the deeper you push in the pit, the more glyph levels you get. So I think that's definitely working well for us, but open to hearing thoughts and feedback as we continue to develop the game.
EV Demonic 666. Evil. Evil EVs. I guess it's like an Umbreon, isn't it? What are the drop rates for Mythic Uniques? Are they being increased per boss layer / Torment tier?
Oh yeah, so the Mythic Uniques increase with Torment. We actually did a pretty substantial, like if you want to farm Mythic Uniques, I almost call them Giga Belial, Supreme Belial, we get in trouble because we constantly say greater, Giga, Uber. Yeah, we're running out of adjectives for Big Bad. Supreme Belial has the highest chance of all the Lair bosses, and he's really the place to go. So we position Mythic Uniques and Ancestrals targeting and things like that on Supreme Belial.
Yeah, definitely celebrating the end of the journey when you get to the top of the Lair boss ladder. Make that a big moment.
Cool. We had a question here and I deleted from my document, so I think someone from the community may have killed it. But there was a question related to, and they may have missed it in the beginning, but I'm just going to reiterate it, but about skill trees. Are there going to be like changes and reworks and things like that? I know we confirmed earlier that we are looking at it. We're looking at doing some stuff. And as we get closer to when that is ready, we'll end up updating our roadmap to incorporate some of those things. last question I'm going to take is from Grimmy Grim. Do you feel like class and build balance will be in a good place now? I'm afraid some builds will be 100 times stronger than other builds again.
Our goal is not to have things that are 100 times stronger, of course. Balance is constantly ongoing. Every season, we're making new content, new ways of playing the game, and also balancing the system. It's not just on the class side; it's also on like the encounters, the bosses you're fighting, the enemies, or the activities you're doing, the torment tiers and the scaling. There's a lot of moving parts here, and it's kind of a constant, ongoing thing to strive for balance. And I don't think that even if literally every build dealt exactly the same amount of DPS, that wouldn't be ideal either, right? There should still be some natural variation, but our goal is really to make sure that players, no matter what build you're playing, is that you're able to complete a lot of the content in the game. If you make any kind of competent build that comes together in a good way, you should be able to complete that season journey if you're putting in that time, get to Torment 4, and be able to take down the bosses, the strongest form of Belial. That's our main goal. And we understand that sometimes there are going to be some outliers above that, and we are actively looking to monitor and tamp down on those ones that are 100x stronger than everything else, and also find the ones that are 100x weaker than the par, or some number weaker, and make sure that they are able to achieve all of the goals in the game. Our real driving philosophy is that we don't want you to feel like I'm playing the game wrong because I'm not playing this overpowered build. But exact perfect parity where every build deals exactly the same amount of damage is both impossible and undesirable.
Yeah, I think it's a lot, like just sort of taking a step back as well. Achieving perfect balance really relies on stability and not injecting anything new.
Correct.
Right, and I think we try and walk that balance of like, we do want to shake up the meta. We want there to be cool new ways to play the game. Boss powers are getting added to really shake up that meta, and that is in direct conflict with perfect balance, right? So we are trying to walk that line. That's not to say that we're cool with the times 100x, but it just, to really reiterate, they're sort of like at polar opposites of the spectrum. Adding new stuff and balance are very at odds, so.
Cool. I lied. I had one more question, which is, and I wanted to address it really quickly, but Captain Morgan asked if we have unused Battle Pass upgrades or Ultimate Edition or whatever, will those carry over with the new reliquaries? We actually have all the details of how those will work. They're actually being converted over to reliquary tokens or to platinum, depending on what type of upgrade you actually have. So that's all laid out in the blog that we posted earlier this week. So make sure to check out that blog. It's on Diablo4.com. It's our full Season 8 blog, and it's in the reliquary section. It has all the details specifically related to that. So that is us. That is it today. Today's been tough for me. That is it today for our Season 8 developer update live stream. Just a quick reminder, Season 7 is ending starting next week because Season 8 actually kicks off on April 29th. So make sure to jump into Season 7, clear out any of your final Battle Pass items or Season Journey items that you may need to. Get Dorian, like the Raven, if you had our Raven, Dorian. I know, I just absolutely, I am so sorry, Dorian. Secondly, we have Charles is going to be in a Sanctuary sit-down. Sanctuary is a Discord. It's our largest Diablo community Discord. He's going to be jumping in there and talking to Lurkin, who's a content creator within the Diablo Partner Program, and he'll be doing a Q&A immediately after the stream. So if you want to jump into the Sanctuary Discord, and Charles will be talking a little bit more about classes, class balance, himself, hobbies, what kind of pizza he likes, where his tattoos are, things like that. And then, of course, Patronus will be live on Diablo4.com immediately after we end the stream. So thank you, everyone, again, for joining me on the Diablo 4 Season 8 Developer Update live stream. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you in Sanctuary on, well, anytime, but next week for Season 8 with Belial on April 29th, and, of course, our Berserk collab the following week. So thank you all, and we'll see you in Sanctuary. See ya.
Man, that one guy is so boring, man. He reminds me of one of my professor teachers, like, back in school, like, where freaking, just, like, puts me to sleep just listening to the guy, like, ugh. The Berserk stuff looks really good. I really want that Berserk sword. It's on the Barbarian. I'm assuming it goes on any character that can use a two-handed sword, but...
Yeah.
I want the Berserk sword! I already know Leon's. He's already bought it. Like, it's already happened. Like, it's not even out yet, but he's already got it. He's like, yep. Got it.
Did they show the trailer?
I haven't looked at the trailer. No, they didn't show it. I don't wonder why they didn't show it. Let's take a look at the crossover trailer, because I haven't seen it yet. Why am I, like, in half full screen mode? What the hell's going on? That's pretty cool, actually. I do love me some Berserk. Interesting. Skull Knight Necromancer. They even got the Berserk horse. That's crazy. Looks good. Looks good. I like it. Looks good.
I tried to get excited. It was hard watching that.
Dude, that one guy so boring? Like, they need to take him off of there.
It's not just that. It's just like.
Well, I mean, some of the stuff that they're doing is just I don't understand why they're doing a whole boss season. Like I feel like at a certain point they've got to realize that like bossing is not one of their strong suits. And I talked about this during the stream too, but like it's not one of their strong suits. They either make the most ridiculously easy to kill bosses that like people run up in one shot and there's no actual like content or like doing them, or the bosses are so ridiculously difficult that they one shot you on a regular basis and it's like, oh okay, this is really cool. Like I just get one shot randomly like throughout the boss fight. Like the original Lilith fight before they freaking tweaked it. Like you either went in there and like one shot the boss or you just got one shot over and over again. And like I don't understand why they're doing a whole season around bosses. I feel like
And you talked about it with the ice shard thing. It's like the best thing that they did was the one season where they had the vaults where you could either do the bossing stuff or you could run a build that was really good at clear, right? Because they haven't figured out that balance.
Exactly. Because there are certain things, there's certain builds that are just really good at clearing, and there should be places they can go to clear, right? And there's certain builds that are really good at killing bosses, and there should be places for them to go to kill bosses. And I mean, I hate to bring up Path of Exile 2, but Path of Exile 2 has options, right? Like there are whole entire areas that are just dedicated to clearing and killing things as fast as possible. And then there's boss areas where you can go and you can kill bosses, and you don't have to do the bosses if you don't want to. But like there's so many builds in Diablo 4 that are clear builds that absolutely suck. They are absolutely trash at bosses. And then now we have an entire season based on bosses. So like I hate to tell you this, but like if you play this season, and I'm probably going to hop on at least for the first day, but like if you play this season, you're going to want to pick a boss killer. You're not going to want to pick a character that sucks at killing bosses. Like if you're going in and you're like, maybe I'll try out the ice shards. No, just stop. Just stop right there. Okay. Because ice shards has traditionally and always has been absolutely terrible at killing bosses to the point where it is one of the worst boss killing skills in the game. And even if they beef it up a little bit so that it has more boss killing potential, it's still going to be one of the worst boss killing skills in the game. So if you choose ice shards, you're choosing a terrible time. You're going to have an awful time on this season because the entire season is going to be about killing bosses. You might as well just pick the best single target damage build that you can, because that's what you're going to need this season. You're going to need single target damage. Like they have like a whole chart here, and I laughed because it's just they're making it so complicated for no reason. I don't understand why they're making it.
How do you get to Supreme Belial?
Yeah.
It's like you got to do this, and then you got to do this, and then you got to do them. Like, okay.
It's so silly, but like, hold on, let me pull up the image. No, I don't want to look at it on Discord. I want to pull it up on the thing. I mean, look at this image. Like, it's stupid. Like, they got all the keys, and then the keys go to specific bosses, and then the bosses go to specific more keys, and then those keys go to specific bosses, and then those bosses can do this, and then you get the Belial surprise ambush and these bosses, and then you might get a husk, and then the husk goes to the exalted boss, and like it's
well, nothing here is different other than the creation of Harbinger of Hatred and then this Betrayer's Husk thing, or in the ambush, right?
So,
like everything.
So it's different because they're converting the original Lair boss keys into like some sort of weird currency now. Like it's kind of hard to like exactly pinpoint it. They talked about it in one of the previous ones, and this doesn't really show it like as much as it did previously. Let me see if I have like one of the screenshots from the previous one where they showed more specifically what was happening to all the currency types and like how individual currency types were changing in a weird way, where like you could take one currency type and convert it into another currency type, and like it was really complicated for no reason. I don't know if I still have it on here. Does not look like I still have it on here. Oh, there's the PTR. Okay. Let's see. Let me see if I have the original image. There's the boss powers. Okay, here you go. Here's the image that they showed us before. So Stygian stones converted into Duriel, Andariel, or Harbinger of Hatred keys. Lair boss free to key. Lair keys grant access to their horde loot. So basically, like, the individual things are now only going to open the chests, and then consolidated to 1 layer key per boss, increased stacking to 99, normalized counts per layer boss rank. They also had, like, yeah, here's the weird thing right here with the, like, do they have it on this one, sort of? Yeah, they have it on this one, sort of, too. It's like, multiple paths. Like, see how Varshan over here is connected to the Shard of Agony, but then, like, there's a line that travels from the Shard of Agony to the Stygian Stone, and Grigore gets the Stygian Stone, and Uravar, and Lord Zir, and Beast of the Ice. And then, like, there's lines from the Stygian Stone to Duriel and Dariel and, like, Harbinger of Hatred. And then they talked about some sort of, like, ability to convert, like, the Malignant Hearts into, like, the Living Steel and a bunch of other things. Honestly, it sounds to me like it's going to be ridiculously easy to come by boss mats again. We're going to have so many boss mats, we're not going to know what to do with them. I mean, otherwise, the whole season falls flat, right? I mean, if you think about it from a certain logical standpoint, if there's not enough boss mats and you're not capable of, like, getting to the bosses and actually killing, like, Uber Belial or whatever, right? Then nothing's left, right? So you're the whole season, like, falls apart if you can't do bosses. So we're probably gonna have so many boss mats they're gonna be coming out of our ears. I mean, it sounds like to me, though, that these boss powers could potentially just be your entire build, and they were on the PTR, and they said they toned them down, but I guess we'll find out. They either didn't tone them down enough, I almost guarantee you, or they toned them down so far that they'll be useless, one way or the other. And since the entire season is designed around them, it's probably the latter, which is they're probably still really powerful. Which means that if you choose, like, an Ice Shards build, for instance, that's not good at bossing, you could still potentially use one of the bossing powers to kill the bosses, which is probably how it's going to end up.
In the blog post, they went over what they did to the boss powers. 2 of them got buffed, the rest of them got cut heavily. But the ones that got buffed will probably be OP.
The owl looks really cool. There's an owl for the season pass. Some sort of multi-eyed cat, too.
I don't even know what class or build I want to play.
I mean, the only thing that stood out to me that looked interesting, in my opinion, was the helmet. Like, out of everything, I really kind of want to play the Barbarian just because I want that cosmetic and actually I want to be able to use it. But, like, the only thing that really stood out to me was the Necromancer helmet. I mean, no, sorry, the Druid helmet. The one that basically gives you the ability to use Perfect Storm and Earthen Might key passive at the same time as also using the like whatever other key passive you wanted. So you could have literally Perfect Storm, like Nature's Fury, and Earthen Might all together on one build. Like, you know that build I did one season, a couple seasons before, the triple basic? That would work amazing with the triple basic build. That would be insane. It'd be insanity. I'll just sit there and spam, like, Earth Spike or whatever and get the other 2 Storm abilities, and then I get Nature's Fury, Perfect Storm, and Earthen Might key passive all at the same time. Just go back and forth between, like, Storm Strike and Earth Spike. It sounds kind of nuts. It probably will be like one of the top builds of the season. I can't imagine it not being, because it was already, like, ridiculously powerful, and once you throw in Earthen Might and Perfect Storm key passive together, and the ability to go back and forth between the two, and the fact that you can scale Earth Spike and the Storm Strike basically with both of the opposite sides. So in other words, the Earthen Might key passive would apply to Storm Strike, and the Perfect Storm key passive would apply to Earth Spike, because of the way that Nature's Fury functions, is that when you cast Earth Spike and you get a free cast of Storm Strike basically then gets the effect of Earthen Might key passive, as well as any other Earth buffs that you have. And then when you cast Storm Strike and you get a free Earth Spike now gets the benefit of Perfect Storm and also all of your Storm benefits. So like this helmet is like the perfect like storm essentially of both worlds, allowing you to essentially it literally is the perfect storm, because all you have to do is just spam back and forth between the two and your damage is just going to fly through the roof. I would even imagine that it's probably, I would say it'd probably be one of the top builds this season, because I don't think they have even anticipated properly how ridiculous it is to have Perfect Storm and Earthen Might key passive at the same time as also having Nature's Fury, which allows you to apply both Perfect Storm and Earthen Might to the attack. So any free attack that you get from Nature's Fury counts as being both Earth and Storm at the same time, essentially. And that means that it would be under the effect of both Perfect Storm and Earthen Might, as well as all of your Storm passives and all of your Earth passives and all of your Storm benefits and all of your Earth benefits all at the same time. So that ability that free casts from Nature's Fury is going to hit like a literal Mack truck. Other than that, though, I don't know if there's anything else that's really all that interesting in what they added. The Necromancer one looks boring. I'm not even going to like attempt to play with the poison trap thing, because I think that they absolutely are terrible at single target at damage over time. Their damage over time attempts are just are laughable at best on every scenario. I don't think it's going to be good. Hail of Verglass looks like an interesting helmet, and I would honestly be kind of interested in playing with it if it wasn't a boss season. Like if this wasn't a season designed around bossing for a skill that absolutely sucks at bossing, like I would totally be on this, but I definitely do not think anybody should touch this one, because you're just going to have a terrible time, I think. Unless it's so overpowered that your ice shards are just like one-shotting the boss, I don't see this one as doing very well. I mean, Spiritborn is still Spiritborn. I don't really want to touch Spiritborn. Although
that might be the strongest spell of the season.
Although that amulet does seem absolutely insane. The whole like picking up the storm feathers thing, and like I know Leon had a whole build last was it season 6 where he just ran around picking up storm feathers and doing massive amounts of damage. Did you hear that he also said that the unyielding hits works with the storm feathers now?
That's crazy.
Yeah, apparently it wasn't working with the storm feathers, and now it does. So
that's even crazy.
Yeah, exactly. The Barbarian, I mean, they said they were going to do some whirlwind stuff with the Barbarian.
That looks interesting.
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, 60% more damage. It shows how underpowered it was.
I mean, Whirlwind has always been underpowered. Like, when has it ever been? When has it ever been?
The game on Season 0, Week 1, it got nerfed to the ground and never came back.
Even then, though, wasn't that just Goer's devastating grips?
Yeah, it was the gloves mainly.
So, like, the ability itself, though, like without the gloves, has never been good enough. Like, it's as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, there's always a conduit.
And so, like, that's why I was making fun, like, of you remember the Chevy Chase movie where they're driving the car and he sees the lady with like the leash tied to the back of her bumper and it's just flapping, and he stops the lady and they're like crying about the dog that she tied to the back of the thing, and he was like he probably tried to keep up for a couple miles, and like that's Whirlwind. Like Whirlwind is the dog that got tied to the bumper and like literally got left behind, and it tried to keep up with everything but couldn't. Like cars driving like 90 down the interstate and dogs running as fast as he can, and he just can't keep up, and the car's getting further and further out of sight. And poor Whirlwind. Maybe they'll do something and actually make Whirlwind useful this season. I'll cross my fingers and I'll like knock on wood. Let's hope that it works. I know there's so many people that want Whirlwind to work too. There's so many people that come into the Discord that like come into the chat and they're like, oh, I really want to make a whirlwind build. And I'm like, well, you can always try it and see if you can get it to work. I was like, I don't think it's gonna do very good for damage though. And they're like, oh, but I really want to see if I can make it work. And then like they always come back and they're just like, man, I just can't make it. I just can't make it work. It just doesn't do enough damage. I don't know. I don't know what I can do to make this work. And we're like, well, you can use other things and you can have whirlwind proc stuff. And like, they're like, no, but I really want whirlwind to be the main damage thing. I don't want to proc earthquakes and twisters and that's like the only way. It's funny because they even mentioned it in the chat. They were like, yeah, traditionally barbarians been about hitting things with weapons, but lately, pretty much every build has, earthquakes and twisters in it. I think even Leon made a joke in season 7. He was doing a barbarian or something, and he said, I'm really trying to make a barbarian without using earthquakes and twisters, and it's really hard. There's a Berserk like tattoo that goes on your neck. It's kind of cool. I like this Berserk. What's that? That's the like profile icon or like character icon thing. It's pretty neat. They got the GIMP helmet. They showed this in there. It's got the like the tattoos or whatever, and then like the back thing, and then apparently this is the event reliquary for the Berserk. I'm kind of mad the Berserk reliquary doesn't start until or the whole Berserk event doesn't start until the 6th. You know what I'm probably gonna do?
Oh, you can come back a week later.
You know what I'm probably gonna do? I'm probably gonna hop on for the first day, where we're gonna play all day, and then I'm gonna be in like Torment 4 on the first day or whatever, and then I'm just gonna like hop off for the Breach update for No Rest for the Wicked, and then I'll come back on the 6th, and we'll do the Berserk update with all the cool stuff. I'm sure I'll do just fine. I'm more excited for No Rest for the Wicked, to be honest. The Berserk, the Breach update looks really good. Big old snoz boy over here. That rushing claw chain looks kind of interesting. I did think that like consume all the charges and get like a big hit, and it like does massive amounts of damage. That seemed kind of neat. I think I overdosed on Spiritborn though, and I don't want to touch it anymore. I don't want to touch it anymore.
That will happen.
I don't even want to pretend like I'm not even in the ballpark. I'm like, but like, you're gonna play Spiritborn this season? I'm like, no, I don't think I am. I don't wanna. Can't make me. I was thinking about whether I want to go over the patch notes, but like, I don't really know if going over the patch notes is really going to be worth it. I feel like there's too much going on. The boss powers like coming in, and then like the characters are going to be primarily about boss powers. I know they said that they kind of like toned down some of the powers, but I really doubt it. I really doubt that it's not going to still be primarily about the boss powers in a season that's about boss powers. So we need to see all the boss powers. We need to get in and play with them. We need to play with the boss powers. We need to tickle them. We need to tickle the powers. I'm gonna like go through.
I wonder how it's gonna work. Like, because usually you don't fight bosses until later on, right? It'd be cool if they gave us early versions of the bosses for this season, so we can get the powers early. Because like you get the power from killing the boss the first time, right?
So apparently there's some sort of like boss rush event. It's kind of like similar to like HellTides, where like apparently you go and you like fight like one boss, and then another one spawns, and then another one spawns. It's supposed to be the primary way for you to get like your starter powers, is to basically go into these things and fight like I think they said it was like 10 bosses in a row or something. Which is why I said like earlier that like even to start this season, like you need single target like damage output. If you don't have single target damage output, it's not going to be fun for you.
Sounds like Spiritborn it is.
Belial's Return and Daryl's Flaming Skull damage decreased from 1800% to 450%. Ice Grill said, Last Epoch has left me with very little desire to go back to D4. That's funny, because Last Epoch left me with very little desire to go back to Last Epoch.
Well, you haven't played it this season yet, have you?
I'm not touching it. I don't care what they did. They could put $1,000 bills in the pocket of every single monster. I don't think I'm touching it.
Have you enjoyed it, Leonard?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I love the Heartseeker skill.
I'm looking at some
Added
of these
arrow
changes.
is so fun.
I mean, yeah, it looks like they reduced some of the damage of the powers. I still think scaling the damage of the powers off of Paragon is the dumbest thing in the world. It makes it so that you only progress once. That's what it makes it. So you're only going to progress one time. So the first time you level up and the first time you hit 200 Paragon, that's your only progression. And then every other character after that has no progression. You're going to hit level 60 and you're going to be like capped out on power instantly. You're going to get all your Paragon points and all your Paragon power, and the damage of the boss skills is going to scale off of your Paragon points, so you're going to get full boss power instantaneously. Well, don't worry about that, Ice Grills, because I'm not going to cave. I already deleted Last Epoch from my computer. It's gone. It's gone. Tempted to delete the live streams from my channel just so people stop asking me to play it. I'm going to go back in time and erase it from history at this point. Every time somebody asks me, like, I'm just going to have, like, an even worse, like, response. I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, man, like, He-Man showed up, and he told me that, like, Last Epoch was the threat to the entire universe, and we went on an epic journey with Spider-Man and Captain America, and we finally managed to extinguish it from history and remove the blight from the universe. I'm not seeing anything like super special in here. The Bloodlance thing on the Necromancer did seem interesting. The change to the Bloodlance always spreading to another enemy.
I like Bloodlines a lot. It's one of my favorite skills in all of D4. And I barely play Necro, and I just love that skill for some reason.
Yeah, it looks like Bloodlance got buffed up, so that might be a fun one this season. I mean, supposedly it's better versus bosses now too, because wasn't that a problem with Bloodlance? Is because the bosses were like your kind of whole thing with Bloodlance is the maximum number of lanced enemies, and like the boss is one enemy.
Now they have it. So I heard vaguely something like it does double damage now if there's one target or something.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Ice shards. Shard projectiles now spawn slightly further behind the player to more consistently hit close enemies. Interesting. It cracks me up. Devron's like, hey, but you haven't played the new season yet.
Sorry, I had my headset off. I heard my name.
I said you were like, but you haven't played the new season yet, and I was cracking up because I'm like, and I'm not going to.
Yeah,
I'm not going to. Oh man, I don't think I've ever hated a game more than I've hated Last Epoch. Like I think I absolutely loathe it. Like the Grinch. Like the Grinch eats glass. Like I think I'd rather eat glass. Nothing too fancy in here. Like I'm going over the changes, and like most of it is just like them fine tuning the damage numbers, which I mean they never get right anyway. It's either always too low or it's always too high. They never seem to get it properly done. And it's funny because they had that question, and they're like, are you guys gonna have another bugged build like completely and utterly like destroying the entire game? And they're like, well, we try not to. It's like, but it's probably gonna happen anyway. Hmm. Let's see what they did to Whirlwind here. Is it even listed? These are the new items that we already looked at. Whirlwind. Base damage increased from 24% to 52%. I thought they said 60%. Violent Whirlwind. Channeling Whirlwind for 2 seconds increases the damage of your next weapon mastery skill by 35% if used immediately after Whirlwind ends. What? So they took away the damage buff for using Whirlwind? After using Whirlwind for 2 seconds, Whirlwind deals 35% increased damage until it is cancelled. So they took away the damage buff. So they increased the base damage, but they took away the damage buff that it had for like continuing to use it. Huh. Damage with earthquakes removed from Volcathos aspect. I think they're taking several big swings at the earthquake and the Dust Devil builds to try and bring them in. But the thing is though is that the barbarian at the moment like doesn't really do good enough damage without them to really compete. That was part of the problem, is that like to compete you had to add them in, because that was like the biggest multipliers that you could get your hands on.
Yep.
Goer's Devastating Grips. Damage now scales. Deals and scales with whirlwind damage. Now changed to Whirlwind explodes every 3 seconds as fire damage, dealing 300 to 600% increased damage. Critical strikes with Whirlwind reduce the time until the next explosion by 0.2 seconds, down to 1 second. So they buffed up Goer's Devastating Grips again as well. I guess they really do want Whirlwind to come back. How would I go about fixing character balance in this game? I mean, the first thing that you've got to do to fix character balance is you have to cap out the difficulty. It's something that they've been unwilling to do. Like it's the primary way that you start the process of balancing everything, is you have to cap out the difficulty of the game at a maximum point and say, this is how hard the game is going to be and no further. This is how much HP the monsters are going to have and no more. This is how much, like damage the monsters deal and no more. And once you decide upon that, then you can balance the game around it. And until they do that, there is no way to balance this game, because they just have a scaling end game which absorbs anything that you throw at it, so that every time they make a broken overpower build, there's always like another tier for the broken overpower build to go to. And until they're willing to cap out the difficulty and say, this is the hardest that the game is going to be and no harder, there's no way for them to ever balance the game around it. It's impossible. They're just going to be constantly on this yo-yo up and down of like trying to figure out how to balance things, because they don't know where they want to sit. They don't know how difficult the monsters need to be. And they're using this as a lazy man's way of trying to like design the game. Because what they're doing is they're making a bunch of changes, and then they have this like, have you ever heard of a truck runoff? So there's a thing in the country, like especially in like mountain passes and things like that, that basically has to do with your vehicles like trucks, when their brakes go out, if there's a problem and they're going down a mountain and they're going like freaking 90, 100 miles an hour, their brakes go out and they can't brake, there's truck runaway ramps that are deliberately designed to go up at a increasing gradient to the point where a truck traveling at a very fast velocity that is, you know, unfortunately without brakes at this particular point, can absorb the energy that is created from the truck going down the hill. So essentially, imagine you're a truck, you're a runaway truck, and you're going down this hill, and you're going like 100 miles an hour because your brakes are out, you're trying to stop, and here's this runaway ramp, right? So you go up the runaway ramp. How far can I make it up this ramp before my truck finally slows down? Am I going to hit the top of it? Like, am I going to bust through and like fly out the other side like a freaking Superman vehicle and hit the trees on the other side? And that's basically what they're doing in Diablo 4 right now, is like the pit, it basically represents their runaway ramp, right? So they make changes and they don't actually balance the game properly. They don't have like an end game goal of like, this is the hardest and no harder. Instead, what they're doing is they're just throwing spaghetti at the wall. They're seeing what sticks. And in the process, sometimes they accidentally break the entire wall down and you get a runaway character, which ends up doing like way too much damage, right? And the runaway ramp, which is essentially the pit, functions as their method of essentially absorbing that impact. It's like, oh, well, character's doing like, you know, max overflow negative integer numbers. And then the pit just absorbs that all the way up to 150. And it absolves them of any responsibility of actually balancing things properly and trying to figure out how to fix the game. Unlike in real life, where an incident like this happens, I'm sure the truckers are very thankful to have these runaway ramps to save their lives. This is a video game, and they can balance things properly. They can not add abilities that do like 10,000% increased damage. They can spend some time figuring out what difficulty is the highest difficulty that they want in the game. They can balance the characters around that difficulty. But instead, what they're doing is they're just throwing stuff into the game, and they're making the difficulty scale to the moon so that no matter what character you have, you can only make it so far up the ramp, right? You can only, like, this character's OP, he's making it this far up the ramp, and this character's, he's less OP, he only makes it this far up the ramp. And this character, he's super OP, he makes it, like, almost all the way to the top of the ramp. And this guy, he's basically Superman. Like, he flew off the ramp, hit the trees on the other side, and he's, like, somewhere over here in the mountain range. And that's basically what they've been doing the entire time. So if they want to balance the game, they've got to, like, knuckle down and actually decide what the maximum difficulty is and stop scaling it to the moon. The pinnacle bosses are the exact problem with this, though. So, like, let's pretend you have a character that's capable of Pit 150, right? Which is the highest difficulty that you can possibly have. What challenge is a pit boss? I mean, is a like pinnacle boss to a person who can clear Pit 150? What challenge is Supreme Belial on Tier 4 to a character that literally just demolished a monster with 17 quintillion health? The pinnacle bosses are absolutely no challenge whatsoever. And that's another problem that they run into, is that, like, they've made an entire season around bosses, and the funny thing is if they have another runaway class, like, or several runaway classes that are capable of one-shotting these bosses, they now have an entire season mechanic which is entirely trivialized. Everybody's just going to run in and one-shot every single boss. I bet you it's probably going to happen too, like, because this is the season of bosses, so there's probably going to be people setting up whole characters designed with the intention of just walking in, bop, boss is dead, moving on.
Bye-bye, boss. Nice knowing you.
They added a bunch of new fight mechanics to the bosses, apparently. Like Duriel, Zir, Grigore, etc. Like, a lot of the bosses have new mechanics. Should be fun to play around with their new mechanics. Conduit Shrines not being in the game is a big win.
Finally. I'd said to remove that like a year and a half ago.
Also a big buff to the Uber Unique that gives you all the shrine effects.
True.
Now you don't have to worry about getting the horrible one that's gonna like break your character.
I like the way he said it too. He's like, yeah, this shrine is just, how about you can't use your skills for 15 seconds? You just can't play your character for 15 seconds.
Well, even worse, they got all these scaling multipliers, and you can't use any of them because the shrine doesn't scale based off of those scaling multipliers that you're using. All right, I'm gonna hop back on Oblivion. Let's end this stream and pull up some Oblivion. That's what